Welcome. This is Party with Pete, and it is so good to see you all. I just want to give you all a big hug. It's going to be a great show. Today is Thursday, April 23rd, 2020. And what a week it has been. Hello, and Siva Code to the chat. I'm already checking out the chat. And hi to everyone who checked in early. Quick shout out to DZ Studio, Alyssa, Michael, David, WDW Mickey, James, Brandy, Courtney, BBI258, Carl, Penguin Project, Mary Kate, and many others who checked into the party early. We're going to have a good time today. I already saw in the chat, there's been some chatter about last night. I was supposed to be on Park Center, one of my personal favorite shows here on the network. I did take a little night off last night. I'm feeling fine, and it had nothing to do with after the roast. The roast was an awesome time, and we were going to talk about the roast a ton today. But last night, I don't know what it was. I think I ate something for lunch, or we had a late lunch around like 3 o'clock because we had breakfast at like 11 yesterday. But anyway, we had a late lunch, and I don't know, something didn't sit right in my stomach, and it just wasn't feeling super hot last night. So I did ask Ben. I said, hey, if somebody else wants to take my spot. Plus, I had been on a ton of shows all last week. I was on like 7 shows in 6 days or something like that. So I was like, the audience is sick of my face. And let's give someone else a chance to talk. Although they talked about Animal Kingdom, which is my favorite. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit today as well. But yeah, I'm feeling fine. Just there was a weird stomach bug, and then I slept weird last night. I smashed my foot in my sleep. I slept on the couch because I didn't want to wake up Lauren when I was in pain. It was just a weird day / night last night. I woke up today feeling like just exhausted because I didn't get any sleep because my foot was in pain. My stomach was still recovering. But we made it here. It is 11 o'clock on the East Coast. It's 8 a.m. on the West Coast, which means you can still keep partying from last night if you want. And we're approaching happy hour in Europe. And wherever you are watching around the world, whether it's here in the States, South America, in Europe, wherever you are, Asia, Japan, I know people are checking in from all over. Thank you so much for tuning in. It does mean a lot to me, and you guys cheer me up so much. That's why I wanted to make sure I was here today for the show. Although Park Center was awesome last night, I did get a chance to see it, which was awesome. So yeah, I already mentioned the chat, but if you want to join us today, I know we're being broadcast across all the platforms where you can see this big red face. But whether you're watching on Periscope, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, Crowdcast, the chat where you're using for today's party is over on YouTube. So if you go to youtube.com and punch in Party with Pete, we're using the chat over there today. So that's where I get to see everything you guys are typing and writing. And it is good to see so many of you already participating. Love it. Over while you're in the chat, we also ask you, if you can, just to keep the shows going and the shows afloat, to use that super chat. It's that little $ icon below the chat. If you want to send a super chat, you can. No pressure. If you can, you can. If you can't, you can. You could also join our WIGS, our WDWNT Inner Globe Society. That is our Patreon group of close-knit, our extended family of listeners and subscribers. And you get all kinds of fun stuff. You get post shows. You get access to events early. You get special emails and one-offs and all these other cool things. I'm not a WIGS expert, but I want to thank all the WIGs because it does help all of our shows. So thank you so much. With that being said, let's go over to the chat and see who else is here at the party today and what is going on. As I mentioned, today we're going to talk Animal Kingdom, since yesterday was Earth Day and the anniversary of Animal Kingdom. We have a discussion. We're going to talk about the roast, obviously. The roast that happened Tuesday night, the roast with Tom Corliss, as well as others. I also have some guests popping in and also previewing, jumping ahead to next week already, although today's going to be a good show. Next week, we have the return of Piano Rob. He had such a good time. First time he was here. He wants to come back. He's going to hang out with us. He's going to play music with us. He's going to sing with us. So make sure you are here next week. Set your alarms 11 to 2 next week. All right, let's see what is going on. I'm looking a little less rosy. Yeah, a couple reasons. So roast. I mean, we can get into it. Before we do that, I do have, I believe, one of my guests are already here. Is Spencer in the house? If you guys, there he is from the other side of the world. Spencer, how's it going?
Well, it's 12 o'clock in the morning here, so the party is going on for normal people hours right now.
I like it. I was going to say, that's when I come alive. Like, midnight is like, whoo, I'm feeling good around midnight. Awesome.
Yeah, right now you'd be at Jelly Rolls if there was a Jelly Rolls in Tokyo.
That is true, I would be. Spencer, did you get
and
we're going to talk. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, before I begin, the weird stuff that Spencer is drinking for this show is a carton that is like literally drinkable vanilla soft serve, and it's addictively, dangerously delicious. This is so good. So this is the weird thing that I'm drinking today.
That is a weird thing. I mean, it sounds delicious, but I feel like that's just got to be like a sugar bomb.
Oh, it totally is. But since I'm not here for 3 hours, I think it'll be great.
Oh, perfect. Right before you go to bed. That's a great idea.
Oh, yeah.
We're just checking in with the chat. So I'm working my way through there. We're going to talk about the roast in a little bit. I do have some other people coming on the show that I'm sure want to talk about that as well. We should have Ashley and Jill joining us as well. We'll see who else pops in. I have a few other feelers out to some other staff members if they might pop in. So let's see. Looking a little less rosy. Yeah, so I definitely drank at the roast. I was having a good time. Tom actually picked me up and drove me.
Probably for the best.
Yeah, we live really close to each other. Like, if you pull out of the driveway from my development, the next right is his development. So it's literally, he's like less than a quarter mile from me. But yeah, I was like, I'm gonna have some drinks. Why not? And yeah, I was drinking some good double IPA. So yeah, my face was a little red. Plus, I had the tuxedo on, which I haven't put on that tux in at least a year. So especially with what I like to call, I put on my quarantine 15. So it was tight. I was definitely a bit rosy. Who else is in the chat here? Oh, that's nice. Someone said they're never sick of me. That's very nice of you. You are one in a million, so thank you. What's exciting over in Japan? Like, what's going on over there? Let's talk about the other side of the world for a bit.
I don't really want to get into what's going on over here because I'll just devolve into another rant about how upset I am with how Japan is handling the current situation. Positives, let's see here. It was really nice out today. That's all I can say. That's the only positive thing I've got is it was really nice out today. So I went biking for a little bit to stave off the quarantine 15, so to speak. That's really it. Otherwise, I'll just get into a rant about how upset I am.
All right, we don't have to do that. So let me ask, when it's nice now, what's the temperature like when you said today was a nice day for you? Like, what's nice over there?
It was like 72, 73 degrees the other day. Today it was only in the 60s. So, but it was like one of those really bright days, like where if you were like looking through one of those DSLR cameras, you'd think like someone cranked up, like you're sitting in Photoshop, someone cranked up the saturation and the brightness. It was like one of those really bright, like everything is popping kind of days, which was really nice.
Sounds delightful. Yeah, I always like to know what people consider nice. Like, that is dream for me. Like, give me low 70s. That is my dream day. It's starting to get real hot here in Florida, here in Orlando. Yesterday it broke 90. I think it's going to hit 90 something today. So it is already cooking, which is so upsetting because we'll look at each other and be like, today would have been a perfect day for like Typhoon Lagoon or like a water park, or we could have been on Splash Mountain right now. So it's painful.
I'm facing that a little bit. I had so much planned in between like the middle of March and the end of May, uh, because like I was supposed to go to Hong Kong last month for my very first trip to Hong Kong Disneyland, and that got canceled. And then I was supposed to take my first trip to a Universal park. I was going to go to Universal Japan in Osaka with Tom and Jason when they came. And then there was supposed to be the big grand opening of that expansion at Tokyo Disneyland with Beauty and the Beast and all that stuff. And then today, literally today, like this second, I should be on a plane flying back to the US because my dad was going to get married. So like today was my day to go home. So like today I was coping with that with my parents. I'm like, yeah, I was supposed to come back today. I'm sorry that I can't. Like, and then in 3 weeks I was supposed to be at Disney World in Florida for the first time in 5 years.
So you're not coming in 3 weeks?
No. It's not going to be open at the point.
Hey, I'm hoping. So here's my hopes. And this, again, if you're watching, this is just the opinion of me, which is not a credible source at all. But I think, because the way they're talking about phasing, I mean, first of all, the country is trying to open up over here, and it's nuts. It's really crazy what's going on in some parts of the country. But I don't mind the phasing plan that if you have 14 straight days of numbers going down, that you can phase and reopen and socially distance. But they're saying, and Florida has been aggressive in getting people back out there. Like they opened the Jacksonville beaches last week. Although our mayor here in Orlando is doing a pretty good job of keeping everyone home. I think, just based on the way Disney is doing their reservations and allowing people to book things starting June 1st, I think we'll see the opening of like Disney Springs, like restaurants and shops with social distancing, probably come the end of May. And then I think Disney's going to try and open in early June. That is my guess, but we'll see what happens. Also, the president of Walt Disney World, Josh Tomorrow, is also on the council here to help Florida reopen. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. But so did you rebook when you're going to come back to the States or no? Or that's just up in the air now?
I could come back for Christmas. I haven't decided yet because I came back for Christmas and New Year's last year. And provided with all luck that the parks are still open, I'd like to try and do the New Year's ticket lottery for Disney here this year. Every year they do like a little lottery where you pay about $100, and they let you be at either Disneyland or Disney Sea for the countdown, and then you can just go between the two parks like after 1 a.m. or something. It's like a private ticket event, and you have to win this ticket lottery. I want to try and do that this year. But I also want to see my family because otherwise the next time I come back would be a year from now, when my dad postponed his wedding ceremony too, and when I'll be going to Disney World.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
What
and as for like, I just want to get into this real quick with reopening. I've been wrong every time I've predicted reopening because I thought first it was going to reopen on March 15th when it was supposed to, because it was never that bad here at the beginning. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, well, okay, maybe it'll reopen in early April because it's still not that bad here. And then it exploded here. So I was like, okay, they say April 20th. I don't think that's going to happen. And then it didn't happen. Now they're saying like at least mid-May, maybe the end of May. For me, just by the way things look right now, I think that Tokyo, it breaks my heart to say this, and of course this is just ramblings of a madman. Please do not consider this news. I think that we're going to reopen like mid to late June, probably. That's when I would put my money on, like at the end of June.
So are your cases still going up every day?
For the most part, yeah. Every day is a new record day in Tokyo. But people still aren't social distancing because they are not legally able to be enforced to social distance and lock down, because that's how Japan's constitution works.
Jeez. Yeah, that's a scary situation. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, though. Hopefully we can brighten your day a little bit before you go to bed. I like to keep it positive. All right, so I'm going to go. Let's go check back in with the chat before we get into all of our topics. James woke up with a stiff back. Thank you. More roast compliments. That was very kind of everyone. Thank you. Let's see. Oh man, I missed a bunch. Everyone's very excited to see Spencer. Spencer has a lot of fans. Yes.
Which is weird because I don't even do anything at this company. I just write the stuff for Tokyo that nobody reads.
Well, Tom loves Tokyo. You are in Tokyo. Tom loves Spencer. Spencer gets love.
Spencer buys Tom's crap.
You're on a bunch of but you've been on other shows and you've done shows.
No, yeah, I do a lot of the live shows, especially when we do watch-alongs. I get pulled on for those. There's another one I'm trying to pitch Tom on right now that I really want him to take because I think it'd be good for both people who love Tokyo and people who do not know Tokyo at all, but like grew up going to Disney in the 70s through the 90s. Because way back in the day, they used to have a lot more entertainment in common. So like there's this one show from the 20th anniversary of Disneyland here called Remember the Dreams, and it's like a little clip show. And all of these little moments are like the Kids of the Kingdom, and it has Remember the Magic from the Disney World 25th anniversary, and like the Diamond Horse. Like there's all these pieces of entertainment that you would have had if you grew up going to California or Florida. I think it'd be really cool to visit that just because there's so many people who they grew up during those times and you don't see that entertainment acknowledged anywhere in the U.S. So I'm trying to pitch Tom on that right now.
Yeah, watch-alongs are tough. Like, they're fun to do. And I think they're fun for the people who are there and hit play when everyone else hits play. But for some reason, obviously, if someone tunes in late, it's tough. People coming and going, and then the rewatchability. Again, like, it's probably easier to rewatch because you can sync it back up. But just the numbers aren't as high on watch-along, so I think that's why Tom wanted to move away from them. But I think he would still do it. We haven't gotten rid of them. Didn't we just do a watch-along like 2 days ago? Yesterday? Day before?
Yeah, we've got another one coming up real quick too, I think. We did the Animal Kingdom watch-along the other day, and then we've got the 20,000 Leagues watch-along in a few days as well. The good thing about when we do watch-alongs with the Tokyo stuff is we can actually show it on the screen. So it makes it a lot easier to just jump in the middle.
That is true. That's a good point. So we should totally do that. I mean, again, I tease Tom like anything with Tokyo. I'm like, no, but I love Disney and parks. So if they have the best parks,
he hates Tokyo.
I don't hate Tokyo. I would love to go to Tokyo. Like, even my cousin is in the band, and he tours in Japan all the time, and he's like, you would love Japan. You have to go to Japan. And I was like, I really want to go. Like, I really want to go.
You got to tell me when you come to Japan because it's already legal for me to drink in this country, so we can go.
Nice. You're like the Canada.
We will find somewhere to go.
Yeah, people talking about Georgia. I saw about that. Oh gosh, Georgia's worse than Florida. They're opening everything.
Oh, let's not talk about that.
Tattoo parlors, massage parlors. Yeah, that's no fun. I don't want to talk about quarantine stuff. Even last week, we talked Tiger King a little bit, and that turned off a little bit of the audience. So we're keeping it positive and Disney today. I just want to make sure I checked everything. I like checking in with the chat. You guys all cheer me up. It's like we're here, all hanging out together.
Makes you feel any better? I've never seen Tiger King before. Everyone keeps telling me to watch it. I still haven't gotten to it yet.
I mean, I finished it. It's not like I keep watching it, but like I was hooked. I like ran through it. I think the whole thing in like 2 days. It's just. Oh God, it's like watching a car accident. But anyway, I don't want to talk about that. Kevin, our voice in the sky. Big thanks to Kevin. He is producing the show today, but also in the chat, he made a good point that info is coming out and makes it sound like it could start with Florida residents only, so that way they're not bringing everyone from around the country to Disney and then sending them all back home to their states. And that way we're also not getting the virus anywhere and also not sending it anywhere. So that makes sense, the whole local Floridian thing. A lot of people still have June 1st. Kevin, I think, actually picked June 1st. Kevin, did you pick June 1st when we did our picks of what day it would open?
You know, Courtney brought that up. I think we picked May 1st because that was back.
Oh, that was the last one.
Yeah, that's when we did that, and we thought May 1st was kind of like will be the hot take. It's going to be a long time when everybody else was saying,
that's right. Yeah, May 1st was like 6-7 weeks away, and we were like, oh yeah, that'll be it. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we're like, this is the worst possible scenario. So yeah, I think we actually said May 1st, and
I don't think anyone's going to get that right. Everyone's date is off. I still have those notes too. Let me see if it's in this. I keep track.
No, and people are mentioning in the chat, because there have been a couple kind of financial articles saying, "Oh, not till 2021." That I think is way off. I think we're going to start to see in June a phased reopening for Florida residents is what I lean towards.
There's hours on the calendar. They're accepting resort and dining reservations for June, so I could see Disney, I think, would collapse as a company if they didn't open the parks until 2021. They would just fall apart.
Let's see. It's been 56 days since our parks closed, and we're still looking like we're getting at least another 30 of those, which sucks and breaks my heart. I still haven't taken my annual pass out of my wallet yet. Also, hi, Kevin. Good morning, disembodied voice.
Is the voice of God in the sky. All right, how long have we been closed? We closed March 15th, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4,
take 14
5,
days away, roughly, from
5 weeks and 5 days. So let's see, 35, 36, 37, 30, 39 days we've been closed as of today here in Florida. So it's actually not that bad. It feels like it's been months for me. It is brutal, especially because I drive past it all the time, where I'm like, and it's eerie, it's quiet, but also like a little bit of serene. I was telling Tom about this thing in the car the other night. I asked him if he's driven the property. He's like, no, I just can't do it. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, I've had to do it. Like, I just had to drive the property, but it's very cool. It's eerie. We were talking about the traffic in Orlando, which led to that conversation, because there's no traffic on Disney property except for a few Disney security vehicles. But even the roads around Orlando, like, we are a tourist town, so it is like very much like a ghost town, especially at night. Like, you'll pull up to an intersection that normally you have to wait 3 or 4 light rotations, and it's just green lights and no one's at any intersection. It's eerie down here. I feel like if you were like these urban explorers on YouTube, like when you go to a park after it closes, if you like came to Orlando right now and drove around let's say like 11 or 12, all the streets feel like this whole place is abandoned. There's nobody out. It's very strange. Someone's saying they like the
definitely
cool running spots along. Me too. Go ahead, sorry.
You definitely don't get that vibe around Tokyo. But I go down to the area. It's called Maihama. I go down to Maihama about once a week or so, mostly because the monorail is still running. It legally is required to, which I can get into later. So like every now and then, just to get kind of a little bit of a Disney fix, I'll go down and ride the monorail around the resort. They like the music is still playing at the monorail station and on the monorail. It's kind of hit or miss whether you get it at Disneyland. But like it feels therapeutic a little bit because it's all you can get. Like, it's still not the same as going into the park, but it definitely feels like you're getting a little bit of that Disney magic, just because you get to ride the monorail and you're like listening to the music and stuff. Cool. The crazy thing is though, like there's more people who show up down there than you expect. Like lots of other, not lots, but there's a fair amount of other fans that are showing up and riding the monorail too and taking their pictures. And so sometimes you can like strike up a conversation like from a safe distance.
I was gonna say, I don't know if I'd be part of the problem or not. Like, I'd want to social distance or wear a mask or whatever, but like, if they were running the monorails here, would I go ride it or would I just wait? I'd probably take a lap. Or if they were like, you can go, I'd take a boat ride around Disney. Like, I miss, and I think for those fans too, there is that like, with this quarantine, you just need like that little injection of Disney just to like pep you back up and be like, okay, everything's gonna be okay again. And I mean, we saw it in the Imagineering documentary, especially in Japan, like when they reopened the parks, like how they said the country needed it. I'm sure there's people who are, I mean, if the monorail was running here, I bet you there'd be people riding that monorail for sure.
I definitely think that the fact that they are legally required to keep running is helping a lot of fans right now.
And the music's nice too. I mean, I play the loop music and the background music in my car when I'm driving around property a lot, or I put on WDWN tunes. So if you are not familiar, on our app, if you don't have WDWNT, the app, on the app is our N tunes, or you can go to the website WDWN tunes TUNES. But yeah, we always have like background music and cool like ride-alongs and whatnot on there, and that's like that makes me happy when I'm driving around the property.
It's always like, I'm a huge parks music person. I try to collect as much as I can and listen to it more than I should, especially right now. But it's nice to have like that little moment where you're like sitting at the monorail station, for me at least, and I'm hearing like the jazzy version of Bella Notte they've got that plays there or something, and I'm just like swaying along and like taking in the Disney-ness of all of it. It's very zen.
It's funny too, because like we were talking, even like last night I had trouble falling asleep, so like even Lauren was like, did you try putting on like certain background music loops, like will put me right to bed, like they just calm me. Like I have one that like gets me through hard times, I have one that does this kind of mood, I have one that like I like to wake up to. So for sure Disney music, and at least the background music, like plays a huge role in like my personal moods as well. All right,
I remember just one last thing real quick. I remember when Disney Plus came about, I thought like there's a chronic problem in the US where they don't release park music anymore. Like they only do it here, which is great. But like I know so many people, including myself, who'd love to have soundtracks to like Happily Ever After or like an official Festival of Fantasy soundtrack. I thought it'd be really cool like if Disney Plus did a thing where they would put up like maybe a slideshow or like just a 1 hour video where you could watch down like certain areas in the parks and they would have the background music playing over it. I just thought that'd be that's something that you should totally do.
Totally agree. And the Parks blog here, I think they should be doing more of this now, especially now that it's empty. They used to do like randomly, like a few times a year, like sunrise over Epcot, sunrise over Magic Kingdom, sunset at Animal Kingdom, sunset here. Like just random things like that are just like, since they have literally access to the empty parks, like they should be doing more in the parks. They would have tons of views, tons of people watching. They're missing out on a huge opportunity in terms of whether it's Disney, or you want to blame the Disney Parks blog, or Disney Plus. People miss Disney and Disney World and all the Disney parks around the the entire planet. That's a huge missed opportunity, them not doing that, which is a real mistake. What I was going to say before is, and I totally forgot to do it, I'm just looking down at my notes, is like I usually like to recap and see if there's anything good in the news for us to talk about this week. So looking at our own website, WDWNT.com, there's that new trailer released from The Mandalorian. Obviously, Park Center last night. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. We did a little, I say we, because I was supposed to be on the show. But thank you so much to Tyler for getting my back. Appreciate you, brother. And for doing all my graphics. Tyler's awesome. Park Center's a great time. They talked Earth Day. I haven't seen this yet. Did you see this Living Legends of the Haunted Mansion virtual event on April 26th coming out?
I saw the headline. Yeah, they've got Bob Gurr, and I think someone said that Brett Iwan is going to be part of it too.
That's cool.
Something like that.
So yeah, really.
I remember seeing. I think it was. It might not have been that, but I remember seeing. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, the event will be hosted by none other than the voice of Mickey Mouse himself, Brett Iwan. Yeah, there you go. And they'll be like doing it over video call, where they'll be honoring Bob Gurr and Tanya Norris for working on the Haunted Mansion, which I think will be really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Jess had two articles come up that are really cool about opening day of Animal Kingdom and a deep dive into Beastly Kingdom, the never built land over at Animal Kingdom. So those are both worth a read. I love the Not to Zoo commercial so much for Disney's Animal Kingdom. That's so great. Obviously, and this is going to get me into a lot of articles yesterday had to do with Animal Kingdom. Yesterday was their 22nd anniversary, if they were open. We actually had plans to go, Lauren and I. We had some tours and whatnot. Since moving to Florida, Animal Kingdom has become my favorite park. What are your thoughts on Animal Kingdom?
Well, of course, so just keep in mind the last time I went to Disney World was 5 years ago, and I was supposed to experience it pretty much fresh for the first time since then in a few weeks, because I'd never been to Pandora, which I hear is like a big part of Animal Kingdom now. But I remember growing up, I kind of underappreciated Animal Kingdom because at the time there was just Everest and the safaris and Dinosaur, and like a few other things sprinkled in there. So I thought it was like I was 9 years old. I still thought it was pretty, but I wasn't like able to really appreciate it growing up. Even when I was on my last trip, I was kind of just like, okay, one and done. Let's go back to Epcot or whatever, or the Magic Kingdom, because that was when Epcot was still a full park. And
yeah.
it
Well, that's
was.
the reason is that Epcot was always my favorite park, especially once I got into the park, within the last 6-7 years. But Epcot was always my favorite. Obviously, like, I love World Showcase. Everyone's like, oh, drinking around the world, and that's fun. But I also just love the culture. I love the scenery. I love that you can literally interact with people from the countries that you're in. It's just my happy place. I love that there's always entertainment. Epcot was always the best. Right now, Epcot is a massive overhaul. People call it a war zone. I hate saying that, but there's construction roads everywhere. It is not the same park. It's crazy. They're still charging full price for this park, but obviously, there's not a lot of attractions open. There's a lot going on. So it was an easy shift. And even if it was at full speed, I don't know if I would say Epcot's still my favorite, because living in Orlando, Animal Kingdom is never the same. Like, when you go, they're not animatronic. Like, the animals are doing different things. Even their shows, I picture when I'm walking into Animal Kingdom, I usually go to the right, because that's where Divine is. Do you know who Divine is? She's the the person who walks around. She blends in with the trees and the leaves, but you never know when she's going to be out. So it's fun to look for her and then see what the animals are doing. There's so many little, I call them nooks and crannies, but these little hidden trailways. And I know everyone can't do it, but I think that's why I love Animal Kingdom so much, is that there's always a quiet spot. I don't think you could find that in all the other parks. Maybe Epcot now, but there's a quiet spot, and there's so much repeatability to that park. If I went to, let's say, Hollywood Studios 5 days in a row, I would be probably bored with Hollywood Studios. I would have done all the rides. I would have been able to eat at almost every restaurant I wanted to eat at. And I would have seen all the shows. At Animal Kingdom, there's so much to do that I went 5 days in a row, I could have a completely different trip from day one to day two. Because day one I did attractions. And again, I get everyone who doesn't live here doesn't have the time. When I came down, when I lived in New York and I was coming down for a quick weekend, it was rope drop, run to Pandora, do Flight of Passage, do Navi River, go do then hit Fast Pass number 1 on, say, Everest, then run over to the Safari, then I would run through that park. We'd be finished in 3-4 hours, hit all the attractions, see a show, and leave. But like I said, since moving here, I think it's the most beautiful park. Just take your time and stroll through. The attention to detail Rhodey and his team put into this park is probably the best theming in any park. I mean, it's close to the Magic Kingdom, obviously, but it's just every little detail is so gorgeous. I'm such a fan. And so Earth Day, 2 years ago? It was 2 years ago. It was their 20th, because it's the 22nd. Yeah, that's the first time I met Tom too, in person. I had been working for him for that point for a few months, but he had never met in person, only via conference like this or on podcasts where we don't see each other. So that was fun, and that was the big 20th where Rhodey was there and got to meet him, and they were doing all those fun new things for this. I don't know. Right now, Animal Kingdom is the only park where I think they don't have announced construction, but with the addition of that Zootopia land, I feel like it will be the best park in the world. And if you look, and I never got this a few years ago, but now I kind of get it. If you ever just go into Google and say ranking all the Disney parks in the world, of all the people who have gone to all the parks, they all have these blogs and everything else. Animal Kingdom is constantly in the top 1, 2, or 3 on everyone's list of every park in the world, including Tokyo's, both parks, including Disneyland on the West Coast, the original, and including all the parks here in Florida. It makes the top of the list, and I think it's for a good reason. I'm obsessed with Animal Kingdom. And we say it all the time. I'll look at Lauren and we just be driving, and I was like, I wish we were at Animal Kingdom, because that's where we go. That's kind of our end of the day park. If she has a hard day, she's a teacher. If she had a hard day at school and she gets home around 3:30, I let her decompress, but then I'd be around 5 o'clock, I'd be like, hey, you want to just pop over to Animal Kingdom? And we'd go there from 5 to 8 and maybe do one ride, see what Fast Pass we could find, sit over at Nomad, or just go see a show. It's just so gorgeous. Friggin' love it. I have more to talk about, but go ahead.
I was watching the Imagineering story, and I never realized how much more to Animal Kingdom there was than I thought. I mean, I never really gave it that much thought. I kind of just, I would watch the Travel Channel specials and I would go, and I'm like, oh yeah, this park is really pretty and it's like more detailed than the other ones. But that's really it. I mean, even now I'll still think back, and if you ask me to rank all of the Disney parks I've been to, I'd probably put Disney Sea as number 1 and then Animal Kingdom, I think, is number 2, just for how beautiful it is. There's so much, and that's thinking, and that's when I think about Animal Kingdom as I know it 5 years ago. If I was, once I actually go again, I think that I'll be able to reaffirm that, or even see how close it comes to, if not surpasses, Disney Sea on that ranking. I love the idea of Animal Kingdom. And what's crazy is like I said, I never really appreciated it that much as a kid. And now that I like seen the Imagineering story and I hear everyone talk about it, and I've gotten involved in the Disney community, which I so violently tried to avoid for many years. I have a great story about how I met Tom too, actually, but I'll get to that in a minute.
Cool.
I'm so excited to get back to Animal Kingdom and like spend a day. I really want to spend a day like walking through that park, like just taking it all in. I want to eat at Satuli. I want to go to Pandora for the first time. I need to go to Sanaa while I'm out there as well. But like all this stuff that I just need to like sit there and take in again. Especially with the perspective of after watching the Imagineering story, I think that'll be that I'm so excited for that.
Same. Well, first of all, let me hear your Tom story first before I go off, because I'm going to go on a giant tangent.
Oh.
But anyway, let's hear the Tom story. Go ahead.
Sure. This is completely unrelated to anything. But I met Tom. So I wrote a trip planning website about planning a trip to Tokyo Disney Resort. There's an ad for it at the bottom of every Tokyo article that I write. Very proud of it. You should read it. So I met Tom through Jose when he still worked here. Jose got on a Discord server about traveling to Japan for this YouTuber who I helped moderate for. And so I met Jose, and Jose sent my website to Tom, and Tom liked it. So that was in May 2019. And I started emailing Jason. And Jason takes forever to respond to emails.
He's not the fastest.
I was supposed to get hired like in May, or this was like late April, early May when I met Jose, and heard that I was supposed to like get hired. And then it took until late July for me to actually get hired and start talking to Tom. I met Tom because Jason was like, Tom is in Tokyo and he would like to meet you. I'm like, okay. It was the grand opening day for Soaring Fantastic Flight. So I was just going down there to be there for the grand opening. And Jason emails me, he's like, here's Tom's phone number. You should get in contact with him. So I text Tom at like 5 o'clock in the morning, Tokyo time. I'm like, hi, I was given this phone number. And he's like, oh yeah, hi, I'm Tom. You're going to be at Disney Sea today? I'm like, yes, I'll save you a spot. And like I'd been reading WDWNT for a few years at that point. So like I was aware of Tom. I vaguely knew what he looked like. So I'm sitting there. When you're in Tokyo, you sit on these like little plastic picnic sheets when you're sitting on the ground. So I'm sitting there. I had like one half of the picnic sheet I was sitting on, and it's like a picnic sheet. It's like really tiny. So I had the other half open because I was like, oh yeah, Tom's probably like my size. I'm really skinny. I didn't know that Tom was a little bit bigger than that. So like I come in, I'm like, oh, that's giant. Tom.
Yeah.
He comes up
it's
from
so
behind.
Funny, like, you mentioned that too, like when you were like, he was like, hi. Like when I went up to him, like I've now like up to the point when I met him for the first time, like I've argued with him on the air. We have fun, we joke around. We're both from New York, but I never met him in person. But like for the good of the show, even when I auditioned, he was like, I like, that you and I go back and forth at each other. It makes the show fun for everybody. And so when I was with Lauren, we'd flown down because I was still living in New York, obviously 2 years ago. And I went up to him. I was like, "Hey, I'm Pete. Like, this is Lauren." And Tom's like, "Hello." And Jason's like, "Hi." And then they just like were like, "Well, we have to go over here. We'll check in with you later." And I was like, "This is so uncomfortable. Come on, Tom, lighten up. Let's go. Let's have some fun here together." But yeah, they were in merch mode, I guess, which I've learned now that
it was a lot
hung
of.
out with them.
Yeah, you learn when Tom is shopping. It was a lot of fun. It was weird because like we were sitting there. I had just met Tom. The park opened at 9, so he got there at like 7:30, and so we're just sitting there for like an hour and a half before the park is opening. And he's like, "Oh yeah, so here's all the stuff about working, and okay, now we're done." So like this was right after the Country Bears thing had happened. So like obviously there had been some bad press going around. I'm like, "So Tom, about you on Twitter." He's like, "Oh yeah, that's just," he starts like explaining the whole thing. And like I was asking about the Country Bears because it was July, so it was still fresh in all of our memories. I'm like, when I got hired, there was some people who were like, "Really, you're gonna work for the Country Bear people?"
Yeah.
So I was like asking you about that, and it was like my first question. I'm like, "So about you on Twitter, Tom."
That's so great. That's such a great opener.
And like it was fantastic. And we like I didn't meet Tom in merch mode, so we were sitting there, and then we got in line. We were in line for like 3 hours for Soaring, and he's like going back and forth between talking about how beautiful the queue is, working and what I should be doing, and then filming. And then like literally like he spends the rest of the day, like we did like a food review, and like we're just talking about Disney and the website. Because also keep in mind, I didn't have any Disney fan friends, so I was like really excited to meet Tom, be like, yes, I have someone to talk about this with finally. So it was like a lot of fun. And he went into merch mode like halfway through the day. He's like, "Okay, I'm gonna buy all this stuff. I gotta buy the Soaring stuff." And I'm like watching him like procedurally go through the shop. I'm like, okay then. It was a lot of fun though. It's just it's fun to tell people the story of how I got hired, just because like it took 2 months, and then meeting a stranger on the first day that a new ride was open and spending like 12 hours with them. Like it was this whole thing.
No, that's cool though. I mean, because by the end of that, at least like you and him are cool and everything else. Like after that day, I only ran into him a few more times, and it was still like not. It was uncomfortable. I'm never really uncomfortable, but I mean, everyone kind of can pick this up for me. I'm a fun-loving, like come here, give me a hug, big guy kind of person. And he was just like, "Hello," very much about his business. Like he had to be here at a certain time and then be here at a certain time. Which again, now I get, now that I live here and I know why. Like he just wasn't going to stop and be like, "Hey, let's have a conversation, Pete, on a very important day in a park." Like if you would have said on like when we were here for Stage 89, I flew down. Like that day we had a lot to do, but I knew at that point, since hanging out with Tom a few times prior, that like, oh, on park days that are important, like we have things to do. But if it's like a regular casual day in the parks, Tom will hang out with you and talk to you and have a good time, but stay out of his way on anniversary days.
I think that's the benefit I get, is that when Tom comes to Tokyo, he's almost always in vacation mode. So like we'll almost always connect, and we'll spend most of the days that he's here, like at least we'll meet up and get food, if not spend like a few hours or half the day together. So I get the benefit of like most of the time he's not in work mode. I've had work mode Tom. I had him the first day I met him. And then when we did the press event for very, very many. And even then, the whole time, he was like so happy. He's like, yes, because this is so cool. And he was like having so much fun with how he was like, this is so cool with all the stuff that we were doing.
I think I'd be like that too. All right, so just so you know, I'm looking at the chat too, just so everyone knows, Tom that we keep talking about, and we will move on from this and then save more Tom commentary for the third hour of the show, because that's when we're going to talk about the roast. Tom Corliss is the owner and founder of WDWNT, so the YouTube page you're watching right now, or the articles you read. He is the guy in charge of all of that, and our, 60, 70 staff members that have something to do with the site. So Tom is the guy you run the league, so that's why. Go ahead.
if you don't know who Tom is and you're watching this, I'm incredibly surprised.
Well, someone said they didn't know who Tom was. I'll give a shout out to Melissa. She said, I'm new to the page, and I don't know much about the different parks yet, and I'm a little bit out of the loop, but do you mind if I ask who's Tom? Which there's no such thing as bad questions here at a Party with Pete.
No, yeah,
Tom
absolutely.
As a matter of fact, it is refreshing to know people are watching that don't know who Tom is. So thanks for watching. Avoid the Thursday night show. No, I'm just kidding. Go watch. Best way to get to know Tom a little bit too is on Thursday nights tonight. 9 o'clock is our one of our premier programs, you could say, our flagship if you want. But WDW News Tonight. It's very much a satirical talk show kind of style. We read, there's a monologue with lots of funny jokes about the parks, some inside jokes from articles. We play games. We do segments. We have panels. I think tonight they're doing the top 7 bars, and I'm not in it, I think. I don't even know if I'm in it or not. I don't know. Colleen, if you're watching.
Let me pull up what's happening on News Tonight. I've got the little thing right here. It's on Slack. So this week on WDW News Tonight, it's the game is Train of Thought. We're doing Liquid Magic and Bad Tattoos and the discussion about the top 7 bars at the Walt Disney World resorts. And Pete, you're not part of that, really?
I don't think so. I don't know. Well, I'm doing Liquid Magic. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, and Colleen, let me know. I don't know what I do anymore, Spencer. I'm on everything. Someone asked me, I go, sure, why not? This is why I'm exhausted. And I'm trying to figure out ways to make money as well so I can keep the lights on so you guys can see my red face. Yeah, but tonight is Liquid Magic, so if you're watching tonight, it's Liquid Magic.
It's Liquid Magic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Kevin is the best. Actually, it's a good time to plug our upcoming schedule for the week. I don't know if you have it, Kev, but every day, there it is. We do 2 shows a day during this entire quarantine madness. So right now, you're watching Party with Pete tonight, WDW News Tonight. Tomorrow, the Wolf Den at 11 a.m. Little day change there.
I'm on that.
9 o'clock at night. Oh, there we go. We're doing a watch-along. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea watch-along. Maybe I'll watch that because I don't think I've ever seen 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which is crazy.
Oh, it's a
but I
great
haven't seen
movie.
a lot of movies. Saturday, April 25th, 11 a.m., Locked In with Eric Morton. I'll be on that, so you can tune in. That's a lot of fun. I mean, even if I wasn't, you should tune in. Probably better when I'm not there. But, yeah, I'm going to go hang out with Eric for his show, so make sure you tune in at 11 a.m. on Saturday. 9 o'clock at night on Saturday is Who's Cues It Anyway? I did it last week. That show was so much fun. I think it's going to turn into a huge success here on the channel. So tune in. It's hysterical. It's an improv show, kind of like Whose Line Is It Anyway? But around the Disney parks. Then Sunday, April 26th, Sunday morning, you have Colleen's Craft Corner, and she's making friendship bracelets. Colleen's been doing a great job with her craft corner. She's super talented and creative. And then Sunday night, 8 o'clock, Pressing Issues, our long-form discussion show, hosted by Jason Diffendahl. Which has been doing incredible. It's getting tons of watches and views. People love it. They love the long form discussion. So yeah, definitely tune in there as well. And all these shows you can watch live. You can use the chat like we are today, or you can watch the reruns on YouTube on WDWNT or our Facebook page. So with that being said,
and of course we will be live. I was just going to say, we will be live every day until the Disney parks, or at least probably Disney World, reopens. So as long as you're bored at home and we don't have news, come watch WDWNT live.
Yeah, we're trying. Obviously, any news that does break, we will break it here on the site. But there's not a lot happening. Everything's closed. So we're trying to entertain and keep everyone's spirits high during these tough times. But like I said, we're going to take a quick break now. When we come back, we will get into all of our discussions. I believe we have some people joining us for the 12 o'clock hour. So stick around. Party with Pete will be right back in just a few minutes.
Something has stopped us now. I'll tell you how. We're gonna live on through it. Let's stay inside and spend our time taking things in stride. Good times aren't held at bay. Just stay away from the population and wash your hands to kill off those bacterial strands. Now we're trying to keep a little distance. It's for sure our best resistance to making things a whole lot worse. Come on, kids, let's all go down to the sink. Wash those grubby little hands of yours. 20 seconds. You never know, it might just save a life. Something has stopped us now, but don't you fret, it'll for sure get better. We'll soon be hand in hand, going down to Disneyland. Oh, won't that be so grand, though something has stopped us now. Ah-cha-cha.
Afraid of crowds in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge? Don't worry, they didn't show up here at Disneyland! Upgrade your annual pass today and enjoy what we finished of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. You can stand in the Forgotten Forest of Batuu. Is that the Forgotten Forest or just Fantasyland without crowds? You decide! Back here on Earth, enjoy all the pathways that were widened and planters we removed all around the park for absolutely nothing. Hooray! There's so much more room for activities. You can also park wherever you want at the Disneyland Resort. Park over the line, across the line, over 4 spaces, whatever, it doesn't matter anymore. What's that? Low crowds aren't enough? You need more. Well, who has 99-cent refills if you buy an ugly tumbler? Who does? We does. On the floor and out the door. Not good enough? Screw it. Free refills for life. Come to Disneyland. There's even free beer at Disney California Adventure. That's right, the band Free Beer is playing all summer at the Paradise Garden stage. And don't miss our weekly specials. This week, all Spirit jerseys are buy one, get one free. All purchases also include complimentary seating in the newly reimagined Main Street Cinema. And remember, the only place to buy limited edition pins is now inside the park. So if you want to keep that eBay and or personal shopper business afloat, you'll have to buy a ticket. Wait, you think we should just lift the blockout dates on the more than $800 a year deluxe pass? We aren't that desperate yet. Are we? Are we that desperate, Bob? Bob's telling me we're not yet. He's really smart about these things. So come on down to Disneyland. We're still here and we have Star Wars Land. No, Darth Vader isn't in it.
Are you tired of your monorail always sputtering to a stop?
I know I am.
You don't even have one.
Of course I do. It's the rusted paperweight out in the garage.
Well, if you're like me and my brother, you know how hard it can be to keep your monorail up and running, and that's why we're here to help you fix your monorail problems. So join us, Tick and Tack, the Patchett Brothers, for Monorail Talk every Saturday morning. And hear calls like this.
So, I have this old Mark IV monorail passed down from my grandparents, and I'd like to restore it.
Ooh, a Mark IV.
Yeah, but every time I turn it on, it makes a noise like wah, wah.
Yeah, whir noise. That's not good.
Not good at all. I think that's the coupler unit. Bob Gerd told me about the whir problem back in 76, so was it 78?
It was a long time ago either way.
So we're in the monorail, and the window just falls off.
How's that even happen? What'd they do, secure it with super glue?
More like crazy glue. But seriously, when it fell, did it hurt anyone?
Just a college program cast member, I think.
Well, they're a dime a dozen.
A dime a dozen.
Next caller is Bob from Burbank. Bob, welcome to Monorail Talk. How can we help you?
Yeah, long-time listener, first-time caller. Let's say I had a fleet of Mark VI monorails. I'm just curious, how long can I get away with running them until they, I don't know, explode?
They haven't already?
I might agree with my brother on this, but that depends on how often you run them.
Oh, all day and every day.
But fairly empty, I assume?
Oh, heck no. They're the gills with people. Just really full.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. In that case, time for a new fleet for sure. Anything else we could help you with?
Well, what do you guys know about gondolas?
So join us for Monorail Talk on your local public radio station. And remember, don't ride like my brother.
And don't ride like my brother.
My 4th Disney trip of 2020 was canceled, and my one-woman authorized travel agency isn't getting any business with this closure. Help me, Ganondola.
Was your 500th in a lifetime Disney vacation canceled? Are you being selfish during a world crisis and want restitution for your losses as a travel agent? Call 1-777-777-7777 for the law offices of Gone and Dola.
Hello, I'm Bud G. Gunn.
And I'm Roz Dola.
How dare the Walt Disney Company cancel your dream vacation? We say you make them pay for it.
We'll fight for you until you get a complimentary stay inside the Cinderella Castle Suite, because your trip cancellation is more important than anyone else's.
We may all be practicing social distancing, but why don't you try some money closening?
We'll even get you some extra fast passes.
It's going to be so busy when the parks reopen that you're going to need them.
Do you even believe what you're saying anymore?
Nope.
Gone and Dola also handle wrongful termination cases for CEOs appointed just before a global crisis, where the former CEO knew it was coming. Call 1-777-777-7777 for you to get the justice you don't actually need right now.
Can't hear you, Pete.
Always, whenever I have such a good comeback and a good intro, I sounded so clean there. Said everything I wanted to say. Let's do it again. Hold on. I love this music. Kevin, can we play the music again? I gotta come back in over it. It's so much better when, like, I come in over it. Plus, it pumps me up. Yeah! Yeah. Woo! Yeah. Oh, feeling good. Feeling right. Welcome back to Party with Pete here on WDWNT. It is April 23rd, and we have just passed the 12 o'clock hour here on the East Coast of the United States of America. Anyway, joining me from the other side of the world in Tokyo, Japan, is Mr. Spencer. What time you got over there? It's 1 a.m. now?
It is now 1 a.m. Yeah.
Woo-hoo-hoo! Look at
Things
you.
I do for
Come
this
back
website.
to my golden hours. Last night I think I've been to bed at like 3 something. So 1 a.m. is right in my wheelhouse. Once again,
everyone was complaining about.
Go ahead. You can talk.
I was just going to make a joke. No, sorry. I just make a quick joke. I was just like, everyone was complaining about how the roast ended at like 12:30. I'm regularly up until 3 a.m. for these shows, so.
Yeah, I mean they are late nights, but we knew that was going to be a late night for sure. And we are going to talk about the roast in a little bit, but just for those just joining us, we are using the YouTube chat. So if you're watching over on Facebook, Instagram, Periscope, you can definitely leave comments and talk to our community there. But if you want me to see your comments live during the show, we're using the YouTube chat. Also, we want to give a shout out to our wigs. Got to plug the wigs. They're the best. Our WDWNT Interglobe Society, our extended family there, as well as the super chat here on YouTube. Upcoming shows, we plug those. I'm on track, killing it. This is nice and easy today. So today we had no guests. Like I said, next week we're bringing back Piano Rob from Jelly Rolls. He'll be our special guest. We'll be singing, chatting, having a good time, see how he's doing throughout this entire quarantine. And then more special guests coming up in future weeks. I'm just planning ahead, not knowing how long this will be. Although, after talking with Tom, I think this show might be sticking around even if the parks reopen. We'll see. We'll see. So it's fun having no guests. I have to I have Spencer, which is huge. But I mean, you're hanging with me. This is great. We're at the party. Like, I don't have to open the door for a new guest. Also, I should say, Kevin, anyone who also wants to who pops in, because we will have guests. I should say staff members popping in today. They can just jump in. They don't have to wait for a break. They can just show up on the screen, and I'll say, "Hey, what's up?" Like right now. we got Mr. Sean Kloss, our social media manager, mogul, McGillicuddy, all the M's. What's up, Sean? How you doing?
Pretty good. Sounds like I came in at a good time then, huh?
Yeah, we're just hanging out. We're having a good time. Love that Marvin Gaye artwork, and now I remember it's Marvin Gaye after last week.
That's good. I'll have to show you the other albums then. You'll have to get through.
Oh, that's sick. I like that. That's cool. I'm a fan of vinyl.
Yeah,
I like that.
Definitely. My father had a huge collection. He was a DJ back in college, so he had a huge collection in his basement. I used to just go through them all the time.
That's awesome. When I first, so like, if you don't know this, for those watching, is I own a DJ company here in Orlando and in New York. Much more successful in New York because that's where my business came from and that's where I lived my entire life. But anyway, when I was a kid, I used to play with the vinyl. My dad's vinyl too. He wasn't a DJ, but he had a ton of vinyl, and he had 2 turntables. And I grew up in we'll say a very diverse neighborhood. So like, my dad used to get so pissed because I would be like taking his like classic records and I'd be scratching them. Like I'd be like throwing beats back and forth, and he'd be like, all that fun stuff. And he'd be like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm just trying to practice my timing." You see me like on the mixer with the. Anyway, love the vinyl. Love anyone who like DJs on vinyl legit. I mean, now they have the turntables where you obviously don't have to change the record. It's a piece of vinyl, vinyl record, and then you can still scratch on them, but you can digitally put in any song. I don't know if people knew that, but it's a lot of fun. I played around on them. Not the system I use. All my setups are different, but anyway, love the fact that your dad was a DJ in college. That's super cool. How old is your dad, if you don't mind me asking?
64, I think. He was big on the big Grateful Dead kind of side. So he was big in the Grateful Dead. Bob Marley, he was a huge fan of. I remember the Beatles was one of the other big ones. Yeah, his record, his diverse music taste is where I kind of feel like I got mine from. Then I kind of grew up in a neighborhood full of children who loved like the hip hop era, early 2000s, late 90s. So I kind of got like a mix of like a little bit of both from like two sides.
I was the same way. I tell people like, because I love music. My dad's much older. My dad's my dad just turned 76 in March. Okay. But so like he loved like the 50s and 60s music. My mom was 14 years younger than my dad. She loved the 70s and 80s music. I loved the 90s music and early 2000s. I mean, I still like all the music today, but like I got like the gamut. So like, and we had like a jukebox in our basement, which was full of like, again, 45s, which are smaller records. My dad had the turntables for the larger records. Yeah. So like musically, like same thing. Like, I don't know, there's really not a lot of music that I'm not into. I think the only stuff I missed throughout my entire life that I never really got into was metal. And I'm not against like hardcore, like rocker metal. It just never was a phase that I got into or something I got really hooked on. But again, I don't hate it. I think it's, those guys are talented too. Besides that, like, and again, like I grew up in a very urban neighborhood too. So like I was all about the hip hop and rap for my childhood. But again, that was like Nas, Jay-Z, Tupac and Biggie, but I'm a little older than you guys. So
that's cool.
Although I love Lil Wayne's album, was it the Carter album? But that I listened to on repeat like a million times a day. Like it was the best.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Carter 1 and 2.
Yeah, so good. But I'm sure people don't want to know, oh, someone knows about DJing. Someone's saying, oh, Courtney, my parents. Yeah, same thing. Mamas and the Papas, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Simon Garfunkel, James Taylor. My mom, that's like, that's like, well, my mom and dad, I think. That's kind of where they go. Melissa knows all about it. Serato Scratch Live, that's what we use in the DJ business now. That's kind of the program we use most of the time, although I know how to use all of this. This is so boring for Disney people, DJ talk. But yeah, so anyway, that's really cool. I love that collection you have on the wall. That's really sick. Obviously, I'm also a big fan of who I've seen in concert. Let's see if I can show you if I tilt this. Billy Joel. Yeah, I've seen him a ton of times. Especially being
Billy Joel puts on such a great show.
Oh, he puts on an awesome show.
He's the one that wrote the song Allentown, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's where I'm from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's the man. He is obviously a lot of his songs are probably on Long Island, which is where I'm from and where I grew up. But I mean, like, he's super talented. Still puts on a great show. I saw him at the last play. I mean, I've seen him a ton of times, but like the last play at Shea. So if anyone knows, in New York, Shea Stadium. Oh, this is a quick story, and then we'll get back to Disney stuff. But Shea Stadium in New York is where the Mets played, and it was over in Queens, Flushing. And the Beatles actually were the first concert at Shea Stadium way back when they did their first concert back in the 60s. So Billy Joel, before they demolished the stadium, was going to do the last ever concert at the stadium. It was called The Last Play at Shea. This huge, it was tons of hype. Seats were starting at like, if you were on the floor, I think they were starting at like $3,000 a seat, and they were going up to like $10,000. Like, people were like going nuts. I got something like way up top for like, I think I paid like $350 or something like that for like the nosebleeds. But it was totally worth it because he had everyone coming out. Everyone wanted to be part of this Last Play at Shea. So like, you had like Garth Brooks showed up and sang with Billy Joel, all these people. And they did a whole documentary about this entire like series, and you can look it up on wherever you follow docs. But anyway, right before, so there was a 2-night event, and I was there for the last of the 2 nights, and he like stoling on stage, and you can kind of feel it a little bit. I don't know if other people did, but like I kind of had a feeling. And he does his last song, and he walks off stage, and people are going nuts. And you're like, that had to be it. It's just so crazy. And then there's a really long break, but no one's leaving. And they're not turning off the lights on the stage, and they're not turning on the house lights for like you to like leave carefully. So we know there's like this big encore coming. All of a sudden he comes out, people go nuts, and he goes, they were the first concert ever, and I think it's appropriate we end for the last concert ever, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Paul McCartney, and did like a 4-song set of Beatles music with him and Paul McCartney. And it was nuts. It brought down the house. Like, the last song ever was Let It Be. And people were going, oh my God, I have chills. My hair is standing up. Look at that.
The best concert I ever went to was Paul McCartney one.
Yeah, it was unreal. And then I didn't know all this at the time. Obviously, like, I went nuts for that. But if you watch the documentary and you hear him talk about it, no one knew if Paul was going to make it at all. And Billy had asked him, and it wasn't planned if he was going to make it. It was set up just in case, because he had like another show in like Europe or London or whatever. He literally finished that show or whatever he was doing. The way they talk about it, he goes, I got into a car, I had a police escort rush me to, I think it was London, like Heathrow. They got him on a plane, landed at JFK. They had him land before other planes so he can land in time. They literally, I think, had like a car on the tarmac. Police escort rushed him from JFK to Citi Field he got out of the car, ran up the steps, someone put a guitar strap over his head and walked onto the stage. Like, legit, like, from seconds. And again, like, we're all sitting there for the encore, like, yeah, there's like 10 minutes go by. And we had no idea that, like, they're literally waiting. They're like, okay, he's going over the bridge. He's coming across now, waiting for Paul McCartney, who literally, like, was in the air when the concert was going on, landed, had to run to the show. Anyway, it was epic. And you know what? If you're a Disney fan, I'm sure you like either Billy Joel or the Beatles. And if you don't like either one of those two, let's talk about your musical taste another time. Let's see what else we got here in the chat before I jump in. What part of Long Island am I from? So I grew up in Suffolk County. We'll talk about this. Why not? Grew up in Suffolk County on Long Island, which is right in the middle. So if you know New York State or the United States, there's this little island that shoots off of New York. It's super populated. It's a pretty famous island. So you got Jerry Seinfeld, Rosie O'Donnell. Lots of people came from Long Island. But if you folded the island in half, I would be right in the middle. And if you folded the island in half the other way, I'd also be right in the middle. So like I grew up like dead center of Long Island. That's kind of where I grew up. We're also famous for having the Hamptons on one end and New York City on the other end of the island. So I was an hour and a half from the Hamptons, and I'm an hour and a half from the city, or by train, about an hour each one by train. So it's a lot of fun. And we have a North Fork wine country up on the North Fork of Long Island. God, I could talk about Long Island forever. There it is. Here it is. Long Island. Right here. So I grew up right there. Right in the middle. This is the Hamptons, this is wine country, and this is Brooklyn and Queens, which are part of Long Island. A lot of people don't realize that. They think it's their own thing because they're part of the 5 boroughs, but both of those are on Long Island. Then you have the island of Manhattan. You have the island of, well, not the island of Staten, but Staten Island. Go ahead.
Is that from Fish's Eddy?
What is that?
The thing.
Did you say you
thing
fixed the
behind
Yeti?
you. No, I said, is that from Fish's Eddy?
No, I don't know what Fish's Eddy is. This was a gift, so I don't know. It might be.
Oh, okay. It's this cute little store in Manhattan. It's really famous for selling like dishware and plates with the skyline on it.
Cool.
It's touristy, but it's not like super well known. But they sell like cool stuff like that, like cutlery, or I thought that was like a cutting board or something that you just put on the wall or whatever. But it looks really cool. So
it's etched. I mean, can I take it off? I'm gonna try to take it off. Ugh. It's cool because they put most of the towns on there. So let's see if you can see this a little bit here. So you can see cool. Places I've lived. I've lived in Huntington. I also went to school in Huntington, which is over here, I think. Central Islip, which is in the middle. They didn't put it on here because it's not a good neighborhood. I didn't grow up in a good neighborhood. So I lived in Huntington. I lived in Port Jeff, which is up here, which is where the ferry is to go to Connecticut. I spent a summer living in the Hamptons in Montauk when I was DJing out here 6 nights a week. I've worked in the wine country, so I've ported a bunch of the vineyards out there. I've lived in East Islip, which is where you take the ferry to Fire Island, which is our barrier island, which is not seen here. I went to school in Patchogue, which is now a big town on Long Island. And then I used to do construction management on Long Island, where, let's see if I can get this back on. Oh, that's money. So I saw someone said in the chat they're from their parents live in Syosset and Oceanside. When I used to do construction management, and my specialty was asbestos and lead removal in high-profile buildings. So I did schools and hospitals, and I would oversee, and I would represent the client. So I'd work for the school district or the hospital and make sure all the asbestos and lead removal gets done according to plan, on schedule, on budget, on time, and in a safe way. It was a crazy time in my life because I was in my mid-20s. I was managing around $50 million worth of work underneath my umbrella. I would have like 50 projects going on at once. And sometimes I'd be on the news because there'd be like teachers protesting outside the school or parents like, our kids are breathing in asbestos. And I'd have to like go give a conference and be like, no, they're not. Working with superintendents and everything else. It was a really crazy time. There was a ton of responsibility, but I loved it. I thrived on it. I would hire like 40 people every year and train them and then have them out in the buildings and schools, and we'd have a ton of fun. But that's how I know all the towns. I know Long Island really well because I probably did the school in that town. I think I did like 60 different school districts while I worked there. So, yeah, Oceanside. Also, after I left that job, I went and worked for a general contractor right before Hurricane Sandy hit. And Hurricane Sandy hit Long Island really hard. So, like, it literally, like, ripped the roofs off schools like a can opener. It went over in Long Beach schools on the south and Oceanside, which is the reason I'm getting to. Because someone in the chat, let me go find it. Oh, David, Ronkonkoma. I lived in Ronkonkoma. Oceanside, Michael said he's from Nassau County and Oceanside. Oceanside, I did their schools too. Oceanside and Long Beach got crushed during Hurricane Sandy, and we had to like build those schools from the ground up. Like they got like 6 to 8 feet of water, so like the entire first floor of schools were just wiped out. There were standing classrooms, boiler rooms were underwater. So help rebuild those schools too. Someone said they're sheltering to Hicksville. Love Hicksville. My buddy works in Hicksville. That's where we kind of always meet because that's where a lot of the Long Island LR, the railroad on Long Island, converges on Hicksville, then goes into Jamaica and the city, and then Penn Station in New York City. Oh yeah, Bob Iger grew up in Oceanside on Long Island. Speaking of celebrities, Bob Iger is a Long Island guy too in Oceanside. Super cool. So anyway, that's been your 5 minutes about Pete's job history, a history of Long Island, and other useless facts. We've talked Billy Joel, Beatles. I like it. 20 minutes of just talk, nothing to do with Disney. That's right. That's what you get here on Party with Pete. But yeah, it's fun. I get to know you guys a little bit in the chat, and you get to know me a little bit. I do have to address 3 things that I saw while I was on the break. One, I forgot to mention next week. So today we're talking about Animal Kingdom because yesterday was the anniversary. But next week is the anniversary of Hollywood Studios. So we are doing, because Tom is obsessed with Hollywood Studios, so if they have an anniversary, they get a whole week. Animal Kingdom has one. It's one day. Is that fair? No. Next week is Hollywood Studios Appreciation Week. So across all the shows, you're going to see Hollywood Studios stuff and themes and vibes. So we're going to do some Hollywood Studios stuff here as well next week. Like I said, we'll have Piano Rob here, so we're going to do some musical stuff for Hollywood Studios. But make sure you stay tuned next week. I think all the programming will in some way, shape, or form be talking about Hollywood Studios because, gosh darn it, that's what Tom wants, so that's what Tom gets.
Hang on a second. Also, Hollywood Studios gets a full week, but Tom is obsessed with Tokyo Disneyland, and all we got for the 37th anniversary was a lousy post that I wrote. What the hell is this?
If Tom lived in Tokyo, like if the popularity of Tokyo was that big, Tom would do like Tokyo Disney Sea Appreciation Month if he could. But it just
that's probably true.
He's obsessed. I'm surprised he doesn't like live stream from the minute he lands in Japan and just keeps it running for the entire time. What else? I got two other things before we jump in. Can you just tell me Amina or Amina? I love this person. They're very nice. They're Wix member. They are always in the chat, always saying hi, very polite, kind to everyone. Gave very generous donations during the roast. And I still cannot say, I don't know if it's Amina or Amina or Mina. I don't know. So if you could phonetically write it, I know the phonetic alphabet. I went to school for public speaking.
I think it's Amina. I used to have a friend named Amina when I was in high school.
I thought so too.
I think so.
Amina? Courtney, the way you're writing that out, it's like Amy, nah. Amina? Amina. Anyway, regardless, do you like all this attention you're getting? Because this is what you get here in Party with Pete. We not only give you a shout out, we make sure we say your name the right way. Let's see what else I got on here. We talked about that. The Easter stream was a love letter to Tokyo. That's a good point. Tom does give Tokyo.
You're so right. I had so much fun doing the Easter stream. The Easter events in Tokyo are my favorites at Disneyland. The ones at Disney Sea suck, but the ones at Disneyland are so much fun. I had so much fun with the Easter stream. Oh my gosh. So we have like all the different seasonal events. Easter is one of the only, I think, if not the only ones that I'm always rotating through. Like all of it, like it'll be Halloween and I'll be listening to Hippity Hoppity Springtime or whatever because the music is always so good. Like I had so much fun with the Easter. Go watch the Easter live stream. Like you need to go back and watch it, Pete.
The hip hop, you don't stop a rocket to the bam boogie. Said up chuck the boogie to the rhythm of the boogity beat. Now what you hear is not a test. I'm a rapping to the beat. It's just me, the move, and your squad wheel will try to move your feet. Now what you hear is not a test. All right, I'm done. That's my go-to here. You want to learn more about me today? We're going to get to know about everyone all day long. My go-to karaoke song, which you can hear me singing at kimonos, see how I tie in Disney, is Rapper's Delight. Is like one of my favorite songs, and it's the worst to do, and I really have to like make sure I'm in shape because it's like a 6.5 minute rap song with no choruses. It's just nonstop. Like you have to keep rapping for 6.5 minutes, and I am not a natural rapper. I'm not sure if you just picked that up. So it is difficult, but we have a good time. I use my DJ skills. I get everyone clapping and doing their thing. Anyway, I can confirm that it's Amina. I think it's Amina. Also, apparently, down in Brazil, which I'm going to say is Portuguese, means basically an attractive woman. So I don't want to brag, but there might be an attractive woman watching a show. Watch out, everybody. Watch it.
It's like that moment in Inside Out where Riley meets the dude at hockey, and it's just like girl. It's like the flashing lights.
All right, so since we're talking about it, before I move on, I think it's important for both of you that we find out your favorite or your go-to karaoke song. You have to do karaoke.
Oh God.
What song are you going with?
You go first, Spencer. I don't know.
I'll tell you. I'll let you pick. My number one is Rapper's Delight, and my number two, which works better when you're off property, like in random bars. Like I was at this like bar with a bunch of tough guys once. And they were doing karaoke, and then I was like, "Why not? I'm gonna get up there and act a fool." And I did "Be Our Guest," which brought the house down. Especially because I sang it to this really tough guy. He was sitting right up front. But so those are my two go-tos: Rapper's Delight and "Be Our Guest." My
two go-tos. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I have a quick story.
Okay. I have one Disney and one non-Disney as well. My Disney go-to is "Friend Like Me" because it's so much fun. Like in Japan, you have like the karaoke rooms, so you hang out with your friends like in little confined rooms. So like I'll just be like, I'll totally be just vibing with the song and like kind of doing the whole genie movements, like let it like that. I just have so much fun with that song. I love "Friend Like Me." Everyone always loves it when I do that song. And then for non-Disney, I always do "Separate Ways, Worlds Apart" by Journey. I think that one is so much fun. It like amps people up. It really gets them going. It's a high energy song. Like
good. It's a classic. Sean?
So I'm kind of debating if I was gonna pick a Backstreet Boys song or if I was gonna go with a Marvin Gaye.
Which Backstreet song and which Marvin Gaye song?
Well, I would start with Marvin Gaye. Probably "Ain't No Mountain." You know, that's a good classic. I feel like everyone would know. So I feel like
that's a hard.
I don't know if I can hit those high notes like that.
Yeah. Or you have to like drop a rhythm like "Ain't no river wide enough, baby." Hey, no way. Yeah, you gotta really. That's a rage.
I don't think I have the same deep voice as Marvin Gaye. Backstreet Boys. That was a tough one too. Actually, it's a lot more tougher than trying to pick which one. Oh man, I don't know.
I feel like "I Want It That Way" is a classic sing along that everyone could get behind.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And then everyone like,
probably have to pick that one. Yeah, I feel like you have to pick something that'll get the crowd going.
Yeah, I totally agree. My karaoke songs, like my buddy, my best friend on Long Island, picks the most depressing songs. Like he'll sing like War Pigs. He'll sing like some like real like dark. I'm trying to think of a better example, but like and then he's like, "I killed it." And I'm like, yeah, but like I don't know. I gotta pick songs that like bring down the house, like you said.
No, you killed the vibe. That's what you killed.
Yeah, exactly. You killed the vibe.
Just one thing real quick about "I Want It That Way." One of my favorite moments in all of television history is in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where Andy Samberg has all the people in the police lineup, and he has all of the suspects singing "I Want It That Way." It's so good. That's my thing.
I've seen the meme for that.
So that was an ongoing joke. There's a bunch of bars. So like on Long Island, like I said, I own a DJ company, and we do a bunch of private parties, weddings, events. You know, I've done large events in the city for Broadway with like thousands of people, but like your bread and butter, like you're making your everyday money is I still own it, but Long Island bar DJ, and I'd have a bunch of DJs that go out to all the bars and everything else. And if it's a bigger one or like these club atmospheres and I wanted to go work it, again, this is years ago too, I would go do it. And I'd always finish, like I'd be at like the craziest club, people going nuts, like laser bomb, bomb, bomb. And then I would just literally at the end of my set, just fade, like you'd hear like spin a record backwards, and I'd drop, "Yeah, you are my fire," and everyone would stop. They'd be like pissed for like a half second, realize it's Backstreet. They'd be good and drunk by the end of the night. This is like 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning, and
oh no!
And all of a sudden you have this giant sing along, and that's how I would end my set for like 7 months. Like I didn't care what bar I was in. If there was at least like 100 or 200 people dancing, I would just kill my set and just drop "You Are," and you would be Backstreet. And then I started Snapchatting it, and on my social medias back then, like people would be like, "Oh no, he's doing the Backstreet." It was a lot of fun. But so that is a classic, the Backstreet Boys, so good.
Courtney in the live chat says that you should be. Courtney in the live chat says that you should be ending your sets with "Good Night Saigon," Pete.
Oh yikes! I don't know. So here's the thing, right? We're doing a Broadway show, by the way. I don't know if we announced the date, but we are going to do a Broadway panel because we talked about Broadway the other day, and I have seen a ton of Broadway shows. I'm a theater fan, but I've never seen. I guess I've never seen Miss Saigon. Well, Good Night Saigon. Is she talking about the Billy Joel song?
Yeah,
because that would be. Oh God, that would really. Be depressing.
We were talking about Billy Joel earlier, so I think that's the joke. That's
right. That'd be so. That song makes me cry. My dad's a Vietnam vet, so like I don't know. Whenever I hear that song, I get all teary-eyed and I'm like, "Thank you for everything you did for our country, Dad."
That song is like when I went to a Billy Joel concert, it was Veterans Day 2016, and this is when I was still living in Oklahoma. So like it was one of the rare times when Billy Joel left New York.
Sorry, go ahead.
I hate that song. Please don't. I hate that musical, actually, but we can talk about that on
3-4 months ago in the city on Broadway. It was January.
I hate that show so much, but we'll talk about that on the Broadway panel.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But like, I'm sitting there. It's Veterans Day 2016, and he brings. I don't know if he does this at every show. It wouldn't surprise me, but he like brought all the vets up during Goodnight Saigon, and it felt like more poignant though because it was Veterans Day. Like it was like November 11th, so he brings up like all these Vietnam vets, and we had like a not World War II. We had like a Korean War veteran even. And like all these people came up on the stage during Goodnight Saigon on Veterans Day, and I was like, you often overlook Veterans Day once you're not like in school anymore and you're not being told like, oh yeah, these people served the country. But like seeing that was it was like this big impactful thing for me.
He does still do that. I think at most shows, like if he's going to sing it, and it's on different scales. I've seen it where he'd bring up like somebody from the Army, Navy, like one person from each, and the four of them stand on stage. I've seen him where like they walk across the stage, a whole bunch of them. But the most like compelling one was, again, going back to the last play at Shea, he had like, I was going to say an army. He had a ton of vets come out and they were like singing along to it, but like they put like the way the lights worked in the stadium, it looked like a giant helicopter. They were up on stage. It was just spotlights to them. Oh God, I can't even think about it. I'm going to lose it. But, and again, like that was, I don't know. I think that he had like a picture of the Twin Towers up there too. Like, so like you're in New York. This is 9 years. And yeah, like, oh God, I was a mess. What else in the chat? Oh, Tyler did mess up Courtney's last name. It's Bruck, everyone, by the way. So in case everyone wants to know, Courtney's last name, Bruck. And also, I have to address Courtney.
Tyler is.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say Tyler's Canadian. He gets an excuse for that.
Yeah, that's how he says your last name in Canada. Hi, Lauren. Lauren just walking around the studio. I call it studio. It's our guest bedroom we've converted to our two studios because she does stuff online. There's her side. Oh, wait, that's my side. And that's her side. There's teacher Lauren. But she does post up stuff.
It's just like this little divide from like the Pete Disney side and then the education side.
Yeah, and then if I just frame it just right, you guys are seeing behind the scenes. Oh, there we go. We're back to me. All right, see you later. Take care of yourself out there, kid. All right, there we go.
It's such a wholesome relationship.
What else we have? Happily Ever After on karaoke is wow. That is a straight up banger, but it's got to be hard to sing.
That song is hard to sing. That one has a difficult range to it, and you have to have the duet for it to really be impactful.
Yeah. I remember when Happily Ever After first came out, I was playing it for like weddings and other events, like private events, but like when people are like walking into the room or like during dinner, and only certain people I could tell would like pop up and look at me, and like I'd be like, yeah, and they were like, we know what you're doing, because you don't know the song Happily Ever After unless you've seen the fireworks, presumably. Yeah. And this was in like the first few months that it debuted at Disney, so like I could tell who like the real Disney heads were in the room. Because it's a nice sounding song, and finding your Happily Ever After works for weddings, and it works for, even like communions and stuff that I used to do. So when you just play that, all of a sudden you see like a few heads pop up, and they'd be like, what? And you're like, yeah, that's a Disney head right there.
I remember seeing Happily Ever After on YouTube right after it came out, and I hated it. But that's mostly because I grew up watching Wishes, and so like I'm so. Wishes is so it premiered when I was 3 years old. So like my experience and memories of growing up going to Disney World involve Wishes every single trip. I still haven't been to Disney World with Happily Ever After around yet. So I watched it on YouTube. I'm like, this show is crap. And now that it's been like a couple of years removed, I think it was last summer I went back and watched Happily Ever After again because people kept being like, Spencer, why do you hate Happily Ever After so much? I'm like, because it's crap. And then they made me watch it and I'm like, okay, this is actually really good. And now I want to see it. The song, I always liked the song though. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about this on some, I don't know if it might have been this show or Eric's show or one of the shows, but we talked about that first song that like you kind of like, for me it was Wishes. Like that was the first time like I saw Disney fireworks like as an adult. I'd come down and all of a sudden like my eyes started watering up and I'm like, why am I getting emotional? It's just a stupid fireworks show at Disney. That's before I was like a big Disney nut. But like that kind of was like one of the first dominoes that dropped before I got into this whole scene. And the same thing that Happily Ever After is like, that's what made Lauren want to buy an annual pass and continue dating me, I'm pretty sure. Because she's like, Disney stupid. I said, come on a trip with me. I made her fly down by herself, and she hates flying because I was coming from a bachelor party. We met at the airport, and then I took her around Disney property. And the first night I took her to see Happily Ever After. And again, she's like this tough person. Like, I'm not into Disney. Disney's for kids. This is stupid. She watched Happily Ever After, and then she was like, she literally like turned to me and was like, bleep word, damn it, I have to go buy an annual pass now. Like, this is, why am I crying? And I was like, that's right.
You got me.
Right. You're welcome. Got him. Someone at Stargazer Bar does karaoke. I didn't know that. I mean, maybe I knew that. I know they always have like amateur talent in there that's really, I mean, I've seen some people who are really good at Stargazers. Which, if you don't know where Stargazer at Disney Springs is, the backside of Planet Hollywood. The backside of Planet Hollywood. It's on the little walk across that bridge towards Morimoto and Maria Nenzo's. But apparently Stargazer also has a great happy hour. Everyone keeps telling me this. I have to go check it out. And have you ever gotten a happy hour over there, Sean?
No, I never have. There's one thing pretty cool about Homecoming, speaking of bars around, but Homecoming had this, my girlfriend got it. It was like a drink for like $22, and it was like a souvenir cup, and you can get like free drinks like in it. Not like alcoholic ones, but then it was like $10, $11 for like a refill of moonshine margarita. That was pretty interesting at Homecoming. Yeah, but no, I never had.
Hold on 1 second. We'll get something. You guys talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back.
Well, Spencer,
I'm just reading the YouTube chat here real quick.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, hi. I've never actually seen you before. Hi, Sean.
Yeah, this is great. So if everyone's watching now, that we can see our first interaction.
Yeah. No, well, of course I've spoken to you before, but like I just never seen your face. That's the thing. Where are you at right now? Like, where is the location in which you are based?
I live in Windermere now, actually. So I live right exactly 5 miles behind the Magic Kingdom.
Oh, okay. Are you from Orlando?
No, I'm actually from the Philadelphia area up north. So I actually did 2 internships actually with Disney, and you know, I fell in love, I think, with the warm weather, to be honest, and a little bit of Disney. So you know, I decided to make a move down here. And I actually, before working with WDW, I worked out for a company out in LA in their marketing agency.
Okay. Well, if you want like a little connection to me, then I go to Temple, except here in Tokyo. So.
Oh yeah. I almost went to Temple actually. I did community college for 2 years, and then I did a Disney college program, and then I was actually going to transfer to Temple University. So, are you from like the Pennsylvania area, or you just picked Temple as?
I picked Temple because it's in Tokyo, but my dad, his fiance is from Allentown, so like I've been up to Philadelphia. I've been up to Philadelphia a few times. I was supposed to go to Allentown for the wedding, actually, and then we're put that off till next year. But yeah, I mean, I do have. I meet a lot of people who come in from Philadelphia, obviously, because a bunch of people come to study abroad from Temple, Maine, and I've found that the longer that I've been going to Temple and the longer that I've known my dad's fiance, the more connected to Pennsylvania I get, which is weird because I always wanted to be connected to New York.
Well, you're almost there. You got Pete.
I'm almost there. I got Pete. I got Tom. I know a bunch of people in New York. I know someone who just graduated from AMDA up there. I know someone going to Tisch at NYU. Like, I know enough people in New York that I think that I could get by there and be like, hey, let's have lunch or whatever, you know?
Oh, yeah. You're back.
Hey, Pete, welcome back.
I'm back. I was going to say, I had to go get this. We were talking about Homecoming. So this is the
that's exactly
bottle that you get from HFK. Chef R. Smith's Homecoming. Welcome home. So a funny story about this, which is why I had to go get it, is we were coming down, like I said, before I moved here in August, we would come down probably like 4 or so times a year and just jump on a flight for the weekend or maybe come down. And I bought this like 2.5, 3 years ago. And I was like, this is such a good value, Lauren. Like, I think it's $22 the first time you buy it, but then it's like $10 to refill or something like that. Am I wrong? What was
No, that's about it. It's about $10 for like, they have a specialty drink.
Yeah, and you could put anything in it, including all their moonshines. So you could fill this up with moonshine for $10. And it's like 20 ounces or 22 ounces. Let's see if I can actually, does it say it on the bottom? No. But, so I was like, Lauren, this is a steal. Every time we come to Disney Springs, I'll just fill this up and I can walk around with it everywhere. This is like the steal of the century. Plus, I said, if we want to save a couple bucks, even like if we're in like our hotel, because we stay off property a lot of the time, I said, we can make drinks, fill this up and just walk around Disney Springs and save money and not even spend Disney pricing. Just walk around with our own drink. So I put it in my suitcase, and we, the reason we came down a lot is flights were cheap from Long Island. Frontier moved into Islip Airport a few years ago, and flights are like $30-$40 each way. But you can't really bring on a carry-on because then that's how they get you. They charge you for bags. So we would just pack our backpacks with as much clothes as we can, because you're allowed to bring a backpack on as a personal item, but it can't be like a backpack that has wheels. It's got to be like a legit book bag. So the funny thing is, Lauren would never have enough room for all of her stuff. Obviously, we're going on vacation, so I'd put some of her stuff in my bag. And I would bring this, and it would take up so much room in a backpack. And I would always forget to use it. So this is made it like to Florida and back, like 8 times, and it was never used. I never brought it out of the bag. What a mistake. To this day, I have never taken this back for a refill. And I now live here, and I've had this for like 3 years. And it's never been refilled once. So maybe the worst value for me, the best value for Art Smith. But yeah, this is the cup that you can refill over at Art Smith's Homecoming.
I have mine. We have ours downstairs, so we'll have to go take it once everything clears up. We'll have to go get refills.
Yeah, we'll get refills together, and we'll check out this Stargazers Happy Hour that I've heard so much about. Looking back in the chat, I saw Shannon wrote about another Billy Joel song, but Miami 2017 is like everyone knows it for I've seen the lights go out on Broadway. Da-da-da-da. So she was like Miami 2020 would be appropriate, which I agree, because this year is a sugar show for sure. What else do we have in the chat? Let's see what else is going on. I like everyone talking, having a good time. Again, if you're just tuning in and we use the YouTube chat, you can jump in there, say hi. Maybe you'll be like Melissa earlier. We can answer some of your questions, like who is Tom? Or you can be like some of our other Wigs members. If you're not a Wigs member, you can go sign up for Wigs. It's our patreon.com/WDWNT. You can become part of the Inner Globe Society, which is like our extended family. You get all these extra perks and bonuses. And if you want to know what they are, just go to Patreon. Take a look at the page. Peruse on over. Meander over there and check it out.
Check out the stuff on the, if you're a Wigs member, you also get core bucks every month at our higher levels, which means that you can go and get stuff off our awesome WDWNT prize wall, which I somehow got roped into being in charge of. But there's a lot of really cool stuff up there. There's items from every Disney park around the world, whether you like Disney World, Disneyland. We've got Tokyo stuff, obviously. There's Shanghai stuff, Hong Kong, a couple. Like there's stuff from all over the world that you can get sent to you as a Wigs member if you get core bucks, either by playing our games on WDW News Tonight or by being one of our high-level Wigs members. Check it out. If you want to be motivated, you can go to patreon.com/WDWNT. Check out the prize wall at my.wdwnt.com. There's so many cool things about being a Wigs member. It's awesome.
And you actually get the prizes now. Like, it's a running, like back in the day when you won something on a show. Like, I won something on a show before I worked here. I was a contestant on something. And I was a contestant on a few things. I used to listen and watch. And I won a prize, and legit, I'm not even kidding you, I think I got the prize 5.5 months later. Like, it was such a debacle. But now people actually get it on time. Now that we have an organized system between Spencer and Colleen and Jason, we got a nice, well-oiled machine now. So for sure. And now we run, instead of giving away prizes, because like I won Mickey ears and I never wear Mickey ears, so like it was a bad prize. So I love this concept of the prize wall, which again, if you're a Wigs member, you can pick items off of there, but also you can win core bucks just being on our games and shows. So you can go to a prize wall, pick out whatever you want, which is so much better than being forced a prize. You know, who wants to be forced to take a prize? Tyler says, I'll take this over. Oh, Tyler, remind me next time you're here. So Tyler Sanders in the chat, Wigs member as well, also a good friend of mine. And he comes and he hangs out up here at Disney, and he crashes at my place sometimes. Remind me to take this with us to Disney Springs. Please remind me, Tyler. I'll let you use it. Just remind me. I want this to get use. I'm going to start doing notches every time I do a refill.
Shannon says, Spencer, I have 30 core bucks and want the candy corn mini ears. Can you discount them? Unfortunately, pricing is not my department. I think the candy corn mini ears are what, 40 core bucks or something? So you might have to go.
Never priced anything on that.
You might have to go.
No idea what they priced.
You might have to go play some games on News Tonight or be a Wigs member. I'm sorry.
And they pricing is like, depending on the game and how much work goes into it, or like when we did the contest for the best pre-shows, people were getting like 150 core bucks. Even if you lose at a game, I think Tom gives you like 10 core bucks. So there's a way to get a lot of core bucks fast.
We have a contest going right now, actually. I just saw this on the website where you can. I have to pull up the article. Give me a second.
All right.
We are doing a contest for 100 core bucks where you can recreate your favorite Disney parks nighttime spectacular. A few weeks ago here at WDWNT, we hosted a contest for the chance to recreate your favorite Disney pre-show videos. We got some really cool submissions out of that. We did a couple of our own too. I think we did Test Track, and I forget the other one, but I think we did 2 of them.
I think it was the Haunted Mansion.
Anyway, you can possibly, but you can find those on the website. So for a chance to win 100 core bucks, you can recreate your favorite Disney nighttime spectacular in whatever way you want. That can include narration, homemade floats, characters dancing, outfits, and more. We're going to show the submissions on WDW News Tonight. There's a whole article. I'm going to put the link in the YouTube chat right now. There we go. Oh, thank you, Kevin. He beat me to it. And there's some examples of nighttime spectaculars in there, like Illuminations, the nighttime version of Magic Happens, Wonderful World of Animation at Hollywood Studios, Ignite the Dream, Rivers of Light. There's also, if you want to be like me, you can do Phantasmic from Disney Sea, or Electrical Parade Dreamlights. You know, whatever you want to do, any nighttime spectacular, make it awesome, be creative. You could win up to 100 core bucks, and you can get some pretty cool stuff for that kind of money, actually, on the WDWNT prize wall. The submissions for that are due, what day is it? Why is there, oh, here we go. Oh, the submission has already, they posted the article and the submission date already passed.
That's totally us. That's great.
Okay, well, never mind. But if you want to be creative, you still totally should, because honestly, any creativity is great in these trying times.
Absolutely. Even if it's really good, we can post it on the social media as well too.
That's Sean's department there. Yeah, I was thinking the other day. I saw that Lego Cinderella castle set, and I started having some good ideas of like trying to make like Happily Ever After. Or Celebrate Tokyo Disneyland, like on the Cinderella Castle Lego thing, like as a projection map. And then I saw there was $350. And I'm like, nope, we're not doing this anymore. I thought it'd be a great idea. It was like, I could totally do like Happily Ever After on the Lego set, or Celebrate Tokyo Disneyland on the Lego set. It's too much money.
It all comes down to money.
Interesting. Oh, yeah.
Let's see. I was just looking for something in the chat, and now I can't find it. Dang, it's jumping so fast. I like that, though. Man, where was his comment? I don't remember. Shucks. Oh, look at that. Kevin and oh man, everyone's so awesome. All right. Anyway, I forgot what I was going to talk about. Oh, Kevin, I just texted you. Do you? Oh, he does have it. All right. We were just talking about karaoke and the nighttime spectaculars, and Courtney just posted about this, so I have to play it. For anyone who hasn't seen it, this was actually the night of your birthday, Sean.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean, I'll play the video, then we can talk about it. But here's one of my favorite videos I've ever shot. This was on March 15th. That was your actual birthday that day?
March 14th, but close.
14th,
I think we were
celebrating. Yeah. So here's a quick little video. Speaking of karaoke and Jelly Rolls and Disney, it hits everything. Let's take a look.
I think I might have been working on my phone.
I love that clip so much. That encompasses everything we were just talking about. Happily Ever After, karaoke, Tom, Piano Rob, Jelly Rolls. Man, everything in that clip. That was such a fun night.
Okay, so clearly when I come to Florida, we are having a staff outing to Jelly Rolls.
Oh, we got it. So super fun. That, and I found out, like, when I had Yeehaw Bob on, how many of our staff have never gone and seen him yet. So that's another thing we're planning. It's already in the works, is when the parks reopen, we have to get staff to go see Yeehaw Bob if they haven't, or just come hang out. And we got to do another Jelly Rolls night because it's super fun, especially on a night that Piano Rob is working. Because, you know, now he's a friend of the show. What?
I said also when Tom's singing, too.
And you get Tom singing and actually smiling. I mean, do you know I was there for Tom's first time at Jelly Rolls? Tom had never gone to Jelly Rolls until it was our Rex the Holes event. And I think it was the night we went to Hoop-de-Doo. And I'm like, oh, we should keep the party going. We're having so much fun. And he's like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, let's all go to Jelly Rolls. Like, come on. And he's like, oh, I've never been. I'm like, you've never been to Jelly Rolls? Like, you run WDWNT and you've never been to Jelly Rolls? Like, no, like, that's it, we're going. So he, Ashley, me, him, and a few others went. And we had such a good time. He's like, oh, this is pretty fun. I'm like, yeah, it's friggin' Jelly Rolls. Come on, man.
I'm trying to get Tom into the city the next time he comes to Tokyo. I think that especially like if there's people, like if Jason also is coming and like other people from staff, if all these people come to Tokyo, I need to get them into the city, like to an actual bar outside of Disney. I think putting them all in a karaoke room or something, that'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Because I talked to Jason and Tom about possibly going to Tokyo with them, maybe for this trip, and then it didn't happen because just a lot of moving parts. But now they have a schedule. I would love to go. I mean, you know, you'd find me outside of the parks in the city having a good time. Tom would probably go if Jason wanted to go, and Jason does explore cities outside of Disney. Tom is straight Disney life. Like, he's going to the park and then to the airport.
I mean, I've tried to talk Tom into going to the city a few times. He was more interested the first time that I met him, and then when he came in September and when he came in January, both times. Well, in September, he was also with someone else who was not Jason. So, I mean, that would make sense. But like in January, it was cold. I get it. I told him and I told Jason if they were supposed to come in April, I was like, you guys need to go into the city this time. And you guys need to go see Kyoto. And they wanted to go down to Osaka to go to USJ. So I'm like, yes, we got to go to Kyoto. And you have to like see the actual country that this park is in. I'm going to try and get them.
Tokyo trivia that had no questions about Disney, he would fail epically, but he loves Tokyo so much.
I mean, he's been in the city. Like, I talked to him about it, but he just hasn't done a lot. And especially like if you come, especially, I think that'd be great. Like get Tom and Jason and you like in one of those karaoke rooms or something where they give you like unlimited drinks.
Give you unlimited drinks?
There's like in some karaoke, there's some karaoke bars where you can get like severely discounted, albeit kind of watered down booze for next to nothing for like a couple of hours, or you can buy like an all night package or whatever. It depends on where you go.
Wow, that's not bad at all. We keep talking about Tom, and this is Party with Pete. This is like, how is my my fake arch nemesis? We keep talking about Tom. Like, what are we doing? Party with Pete. God, enough. And of course, the topic I was waiting to talk at 1 o'clock about is the roast of Tom. Oh, I can't escape this man.
Aren't we supposed to have more people?
Yeah. I think Ashley or Jill or both are going to be joining us around 1 o'clock. And I got to take a break right before that. So what we'll do now is maybe we'll take a break now. We'll come back. We'll see if they are available. I'm going to hit them up during the break. And we'll talk about the roast of Tom and anything else that pops up. We're having fun today. It's fun for all, free for all. I don't know. Anyway, this is Party with Pete. We're going to take a quick break.
Wait.
Stick around. What? Go, Spencer, go.
Can I read off what's coming up next so that you can go do your thing? Like what's coming up next on WDWNT?
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin, can you put up the graphic?
Yeah, let's put up the graphic.
All right. Coming up this week on WDWNT Live. Tonight, we've got our premiere program, Flagship. At 9 p.m., it's WDW News Tonight, which is a lot of fun if you've never seen it. It's our variety show. There's quote-unquote jokes, a monologue. We got a fun game this week. We get discussions. This week we're playing Train of Thought, which I think is a new game, isn't it?
Second time.
And we've got... It's new, but it's the second time. And then we got Liquid Magic with Pete. And then... Liquid Magic.
Yes.
Thank you, Kevin. And a discussion of our top 7 bars at Walt Disney World, which hopefully Pete will also be part of. Tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., we got The Wolf Den with Eric Wolf. I'm going to be on that. Eric always puts together a fun show. It's another discussion show. We have lots of fun together. Pete, you were on that with me last week.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun with that. This week, I don't want to spoil what Eric's going to be talking about yet. But he's already sent me the stuff. It looks really good. I'm super excited. So come watch The Wolf Den tomorrow morning with Eric Wolf and myself and a couple other people. And then at 9 p.m., we've got the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea watch-along. It's a great movie. Pull it up on Disney+, watch along, listen to the commentary. I might actually join that if there's space. Saturday, April 25th, we got Locked In with Eric Morton. If Eric is still in the chat, he could probably tell you what's going on this week. But I don't remember what it was. It's a lot of fun with that show, though. I've watched it before. I liked Locked In. We don't do bad shows here. Everything is good. And at 9 p.m., Whose Cue Is It Anyway? Our take on Whose Line Is It Anyway? I did that a couple weeks ago. We did it last week. It's hilarious. It's an improv show with a lot of Disney Parks jokes. So much fun. I really hope that one sticks around after we're done with WDWNT Live. I think it's one of the best shows that we have done. Sunday, April 26th at 11 a.m., Colleen's Craft Corner. We're making friendship bracelets. Colleen has been doing a great job with the Craft Corner. It's always a lot of fun. Definitely join Colleen for that Sunday morning. And at Sunday night at 8 p.m., a little bit of a time shift there, we've got Pressing Issues, our new long-form discussion show hosted by Jason Diffendahl, one of the most prolific roasters of Tom, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. A lot of people have been asking for a long-form discussion show like the old WDWNT podcast, and now you've got it, and people are loving it. It's doing great. I've loved both episodes so far, so I'm really excited to keep watching this. And then next week, it's not on the schedule yet, but we've got Hollywood Studios Appreciation Week. May 1st is the birthday of Hollywood Studios. I think it is the 31st anniversary. So we're going to be doing all of our shows, or almost all of them, are going to be celebrations of Disney's Hollywood Studios, including WDW News Tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. So keep joining us twice a day, every day, 7 days a week, till the Disney parks or at least Disney World reopens here on WDWNT Live.
Love it. Well done. Thanks. You got to save my voice a little bit there. That was nice. All right. I know Jill is standing by, and I'm going to check in with Ashley as well. But we have to take a quick break. So let's just do that. Let's take a quick break. And we come back. We talk the roast of Tom Corliss. Any other loose ends that we have to clean up. We talk to the chat. We're going to finish the show strong. This is Party with Pete. Stick around. We will be right back.
With the success of Pizza Rizzo and the Regal Eagle Smokehouse, we here at Walt Disney Imagineering have learned that our guests love bad counter service food with minimal Muppets theming. So, here comes more Muppet eateries at Disney parks. Yay! At Disney's Hollywood Studios, grab a wrapped sausage at Rolf's Roasters. Rolf has relocated to the edge of the galaxy to pick up piano-playing gigs at Oga's. But the money hasn't been great, so Rolf the dog has started slinging dogs at Blackspire Outpost's hottest new wiener joint. If you're visiting Epcot in 2022, get ready for a lightly rethemed dining experience that somehow took us 2 years to complete. It's Dr. Teeth and the Electric Umbrella! Can you just picture that? Imagine eating a dry flatbread to saying goodbye while you sit there and think about all of your favorite things we've ripped out of this park. Are you excited? Well, we won't take no for an answer. Then, head on over to Disney Springs for a trio of Muppets eateries. Grab some barbecue at the Miss Polite Piggy, some affordable chicken tenders from Chicken Gonzo's, and stop by the West Side for Pepe by Pepe. And no, not Jose Andres.
Come have a sandwich, okay?
And at Disney's Animal Kingdom, our most popular concept is getting a second home. Be sure to visit Pizzafari after we finish converting it into Pizza Rizzo 2.
They're tourists. They don't know good pizza.
The Muppets. We won't do anything new with them, but let's plaster their images in the background of restaurants.
From the creators of Clue, Disney Parks Edition comes an all-new version of the board game you love, themed to a park you're trying to continue loving. It's Sorry, the Epcot Edition, and whoa boy, do kids love it.
Wowie, the whole board is themed to my favorite attractions from before I was born, and whatever is left of the park.
How do we play?
It's easy. Just roll the dice, move your piece, and draw one of the event cards.
Spaceship Earth is getting redone.
All right.
With no sponsor, and it will be about storytelling. Sorry.
Wait, so the card says sorry? What does that mean?
It means we're just sorry, okay? We're trying our best here.
Are you really, though? Figment is back, but Dreamfighter is dead. Sorry.
Club Cool is coming back, but you have to wait for 4 years. Sorry.
There's a restaurant in space, but it only serves the Maria and Enzo's menu. Sorry. So, how do you win?
You can't win. There is no winning.
I feel like this is about more than a board game.
Sorry, the Epcot Edition. Available at Mouse Gear and all new sterile white gift shops at Disney Parks.
So, you're at Disney Springs. There's nothing like a nice lunch and a little shopping, is there? But then the sun goes down. What are you to do?
Stay right where you are. Entertainment. Nightlife.
Oh.
There's no place more happening on the super southwest side of Orlando than Disney Springs. You and your bros out to find some hot single chicas at 8:30 p.m.? Head on over to Raglan Road Irish Pub and dance the night away to covers of Bruno Mars songs with a fiddle.
They're always after me, Lucky Charms.
Or fly on down to Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar. They're themed like the 1930s. No! But they got the best bangers direct from the playlist at your local American Eagle. Yes! And just because the moon is out, it doesn't mean you can't still get your shopping on. Check out Crystal Arts by Erebus Brothers. They got lots of stuff made of glass your mom never would have let you touch. But where is she now? That's right, in a nursing home. Touch away, baby. You looking for a wilder time? Cheese and wine experience at Terralina.
Mamma mia!
Cheese.
Wow.
Experience. It's so extreme, it'll melt your face off. Now it's 11:45 and your soup's wasted on cheese and glass breaking. Where do you get a nightcap? Move that keister down to Enzo's Hideaway. It's like a real-life speakeasy because nobody can seem to find it. What a wild night on Disney property. And you're back in bed by 1, just in time to catch 2 hours of sleep before you get in line for Galaxy's Edge. Disney Springs. It's your place to be, I guess. Suck it, City Walk.
Thursday, it's officially the afternoon. We're having some fun. And now, look at this. Joining me, 2 beautiful faces, one from Pennsylvania and one from the Great White North. It is Jill Diffendahl and Mr. Tyler Mann. Thanks for joining the party, guys.
Good morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm so
Is this
excited
the
to have you
morning
both
for you,
on.
Tyler?
This is the morning for me.
Are you in the same? You're in the same time zone as us, though, correct?
Yes, I am
You're
negative
just morning
4.
because you go to sleep when I go to sleep, like 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yes, because I'm working.
Yeah, I know that because
right up
yeah, I know because I'll like put something in there. The way our behind the scenes company works, we have a Slack account and a Slack channel, and you can message people. And most of the time at night, between like 10 o'clock and 7 a.m., it's like this person is away, but you can leave a message and it'll alert them in the morning, and they'll see it. I'll write something to Tyler like, "Hey, can you help me out with this graphic for the show?" Or "Hey, this," or "Hey, that," and I'll do this at like 2:45 a.m. and at like 3 a.m. Tyler will write back, "Okay, no problem." And I'm like, "Oh, he's awake." I feel like it's like me, you, and Soberman are just like the night crew, but somehow I do a show at 11 a.m. I don't know why. And Tom won't let me move the time, but it's getting
morning
moved.
for Spencer.
Mark my word. Anyway. You guys, perfect timing. We're in the last hour of the show, and we saved our roast discussion and recap for the last hour because I wanted you guys to be a part of it. And let me start with, you guys could all say your own piece. Let's just go in any order. Let's just do general thoughts. Let's get these out of the gate. What did we think of the roast as a whole?
It was so good. It was so good. Like there were so many people in WDWNT who are like, I don't know if I'm really funny, and then they'll go on and they just like rocked it. Like I know Colleen is funny as the bee, but like the roast that she wrote was so good. Except for that one bit where she insulted herself with the bee line and everyone lost it. Somebody clipped that video because I noticed it in like our shared drive, and I'm like, who decided to edit just this one bit out?
Oh, it's in
that was me at Pete's request.
Oh, that was
there we go. Yeah, I asked him this morning, but I wasn't sure if you were too busy. This is why Kevin's the man. I love you, Kevin. All right, can we play that clip? Because this is so. I love this part.
I am
Does he have it ready?
famously a bee.
Yeah, you are.
One morning and asked me how's costume here.
She like didn't even realize until like way later.
All right, so a couple of behind the scenes about that, and then I'll let you pick up where you left off. Is Colleen wasn't sure if she was going to be on the roast or not. So kind of being the host or roast master, whatever you want to call it, is Tom was kind of take the ball and run with it. So I'm contacting all these people. I'm contacting people that I had never met before ever. Like, I didn't know Chris Straps. I didn't know Brandon Struve, including people who didn't answer me at all, like Justin Hyman, who all of a sudden Jason was like, he's here. He wants to be on the roast. So I had to just make it work. And then Colleen was like, I asked her before the roast, do you want to be on the roast? And she said, I don't know. Tom said, are you doing it? And she said, I don't know if I was supposed to do it or not. And I was like, well, you tell me, do you want to do it or do you not want to do it? I'm trying to put the schedule together. I'm trying to put the pacing, because when I did the order for the roast, I tried to do like an old school person, then a current staff member. And then I didn't want like all the ladies like bunched in the middle. I wanted to spread out where we had, different, all two of you. But if she was doing it,
because in the beginning, we had no idea Colleen was going to be on. So we thought it was just Jessica and I.
And that's my point, is like, I wanted to mix it up diversity-wise, jokes-wise, and then I also got everyone's material ahead of time. So, like, I kind of knew what people were saying, so I can make sure that, like, the similar jokes were spread apart and different takes and different styles of comedy were put together. It's kind of behind-the-scenes stuff that I was doing. So when I found out Colleen, so I didn't even know what it was. I think it was the second or first commercial. She goes, I just wrote a roast for Tom. And I'm like, what? So I'm like, okay. And this is also at the same time I'm getting like, Justin's ready to come on the air. And I'm like, okay, we're going to go with it. Plus all the stuff that was happening in studio behind the scenes, which was, that's why I was so red, is I was standing or running the entire night. I never sat down. But anyway, I digress. So Colleen literally emails me, hey, here's my stuff. Can you punch it up really quick? And she's going on in like 7 minutes. So while whoever was on, I forget when she jumped in, but whoever was roasting, I'm like this on my phone trying to like punch up her stuff as fast as possible for her to come on. And I thought she killed it for doing it off the cuff, writing it while the roast was happening. So anyway, I'm sorry I cut you off, Tyler, but I figured I'd give you a little background on the whole Colleen thing. But anyway, go ahead, take it away, Tyler.
Yeah, she was so good. Jill, you were also so good. Like, you were savage. You were one of the more savage people out of everyone, I think.
It's so funny because, like, I was originally going to be more savage. And once I started reading everybody else's, like, I had been watching roasts all day. Like, if you watch a Comedy Central roast, that stuff is hard. I mean, it's mean. And so I was like, I was trying to do a toned down version of that. And then I read everybody else's and I was like, whoa, I am still being way too harsh. So I dialed some stuff back, but.
Well, that was like Chris Straps when he emailed me, and he had like what I would call like a true, like something you would hear at a Comedy Central roast he put in. I forgot who he said, but he's like, Tom's hero is, who was Tom's hero again? I forgot who it was. I don't know. He made some reference, but he goes, I wish Tom was more like that person, dead. And I'm like, yikes.
Oh my God.
Like straight up death wish. And I asked Tom about that before the show started. I was like, I won't tell you who, but someone might have a joke about just wishing that you were dead. Is that okay? And he's like, yeah, that's hilarious. So it was great. But I love that. No, I do. And I love that you were the most, you were towards the meaner end, and we needed that. And especially coming from you, because you can get away with that, like, and you have the relationship with Tom, you've known him a long time. Like, if I come out, like, I was trying to walk a line, and it was also on a personal note, hard for me to write material because I wanted everyone else to shine. So I'm not going to take anyone and tell them, hey, don't do this joke. I have a similar joke. So, like, half of the material I wrote, I just didn't use because people were doing a very similar joke, or it was overkill about X, Y, and Z. So I kind of had to, like, just find other avenues of ways to make fun of Tom. But, yeah, I thought you killed it, Jill.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was, so I've never done like anything remotely like stand-up before. And I'm so used to like, so in our Slack, we have a comedy writers channel which is where a lot of the joke writing happens for News Tonight, the commercials that we do on News Tonight, that sort of thing. And like, there are plenty of times I throw ideas in there and they either get like ignored or like, oh, that's a good idea. And then by the time I see it, it's completely rewritten. Like the mouth tank commercial, I think I wrote a draft of, and then I don't remember who it was, but they were like, sure, I'll take that and punch it up. And like the commercial that was made was like completely nothing like the commercial that I wrote. I wrote a parody song for Ethan, and he's like, "Oh, that's great," and then he rewrote like 90% of the lyrics to it. So like, I'm used to thinking I'm not funny. So like, to me, this was terrifying because I've never done anything like stand up. I've never really written just like straight up jokes before. So I was terrified of, because I thought it was funny, but there are plenty of times where I think I'm funny and nobody else laughs. So it was nerve wracking, but you know, half a bottle of wine really helps.
Yeah. Or
I'm right there with you.
If there's one thing that the roast proved, it's that half of the staff are functioning alcoholics. Everyone was drinking during the show.
I mean, seriously though, like I like there was conversation happening beforehand. Like I'm like Jessica was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna drink and not eat, so it kicks in faster." Like the idea was definitely like you need a drink or two to like get over the nerves of getting up there and doing this.
And you were hilarious all day in the chat leading up to it. Like, stuff that didn't make it to air was so funny. And I'm like, man, I was nervous too. And I was talking with Tom all day because he was calling me. And I'm like shooting emails out to people, making sure everyone's good to go. And I'm watching the Slack channel, and Jill is making one-liner jokes all day long. And I was dying laughing. It was so good.
Oh, thanks.
I should.
It was definitely fun.
Sorry, also keep going. So Tyler, because I know you only have a limited amount of time before you have to leave. Let's dig into you. First of all, James said in the chat, and I agree.
Photoshop right now.
The tech of Tully is really impressive, and even though Tom was like, "Why is Tully here?" I love little Tully. We started, I got to meet him at the RPG this week, but then he was on the show. Yeah, you got to come on and do a little cameo. How was that?
Okay, so that started with somebody offhandedly just said, "Hey, what if we have somebody read off the chat? Like, what if people in the chat put roast things in there, and then we have someone read it off like Marty Wazowski, like in the laugh floor?" And then I went, "Oh, well, I think I have," so I pay for like the Adobe suite because I use almost everything in design, Photoshop, Premiere, making PDFs and everything. So I'm like, I think there might be one called like Character Animator where I can like rig up something and then like have it do my voice. If anyone watches Late Night with Colbert, that's what he does for like the God cartoon that's in the ceiling and the Donald Trump cartoon. That's how they do that live. And that's the same kind of technology that Disney uses so they can have the monster's mouth animated live on the screen during Laugh Floor. So I'm like, I think I have something like that. And there was a pre-made character named Tull, who is the cat. That's that exact model. And it was the only model that was like a full body character that has the head movements. I'll explain that in a second. But anyways, so I brought this up and I'm like, this is amazing. And then I said to Ben, I'm like, I think I want to use this for the RPG because there is a laugh floor bit. It was just, by the way, for the laugh floor bit in the RPG, I was literally just going to put on my fursuit head and do it that way. So that was the monster you talked to. But then this came up and I'm like, can we make this work? So I had to open up OBS, which is Open Broadcast Software, so that I can stream it to a particular location. And then in that location, Ben would grab that and then display that as a person within vMix, which is how we run this visual tech that you're seeing here. So I have to have Character Animator open. I have to have it move with my head and my lips. I have a camera set up, but vMix, this needs its own camera. So I have a camera over here for vMix to work, and then I have a camera over here for the Character Animator to see my face. I have the same microphone for both of those. And at the same time, I had to have the chat open and copy and paste all the funniest bits for that. And then I was on like a half a second delay, so what visually appeared would sync up with the lip movements of the character. So there was so much tech happening. And after we got it working on the RPG, I'm like, okay, is this happening for the roast? And then no one told me until like the morning of, and they're like, oh yeah, we're doing this. And I'm like, of course we are. So then Nick and Ben had to get together and we had to test it and make sure that all worked. when I posted the highlight of the RPG, Tom was like, what is this cat? And I'm like, it's for the RPG. It was like, this was the bit, because it's like a laugh floor monster. And in the story, they needed to send him jokes, and then he would give them like fictional currency. And then we go into the tech for the roast, and again Tom's like, who is this cat? And I'm like, okay, well, he clearly didn't read the explanation I typed out before in Slack, so I explained it again, and he's like, okay. And then we did the show, and he's like, this is so stupid. Everyone in the chat was loving it though, and everyone who was watching or who was involved in the roast, I think, was loving it too. And then somebody messaged me later being like, we need to do the cat more because Tom now hates it more than the bee. And I'm like, perfect. No, that was it. It was so much fun. I named him Tully so the name in the pre-rigged character is Tull, but I'm like, it should sound like Sully, so I named him Tully. And I realize now I can actually change his shirt. I really should have made it a plaid one. It's just a Photoshop file, so I can go and edit any of those. Like, I can put a tattoo on his arm if I wanted to. So I'll have to try that next time.
Yeah, I like that we got the chat involved. Sorry, Kevin, go ahead. Kevin?
I don't think he said anything.
That wasn't me.
Could be my other producer, my other ear. Yes. Okay, got it. Excellent. Thank you. All right, so let's hear. I'll give you the rough order if you guys want to talk about highlights, lowlights, favorite moments, terrible moments. I'll tell you with me, I started out awful because I stepped on 2 of my own jokes, and I couldn't go back and restart them because it would look so bad to open the show. So I had to just like push through and just sound uncomfortable. Because I was, and again, like, you don't see the studio set up, but I was supposed to have a podium near Tom. Or Tom was supposed to sit in that big haunted mansion chair in the living room that we call in the studio. He didn't want to sit in the chair because he says it's a horrible chair, which is true. No one looks good in that chair. It's very low. The camera angles are terrible. And it adds like 40 pounds to you. So Tom, knowing probably there'd be some weight jokes, knew that was a bad place. Smart, but it would work perfectly for our setup. So Tom's going to sit at his desk. So then I was like, where am I going to be? We didn't have a podium. We had a mic stand, but there was nothing in the background. I didn't want to sit close to Tom. It was a disaster. So we were like, I'll just go in the puppet theater. Why not? And we'll throw the Magic Kingdom background up. So we go there, mess up the jokes. It was just a disaster, which was terrible, but whatever. Then I came around, I think. Going through here, I'll give you the whole rundown real quick, and then you guys can pick your favorite moments. I'll let you guys run with it, and I'll just jump in. Well, so we started with the intros, and we had Eric, then we had Ron, we had Crystal Straps, Jess, Tully, Patrick, Brandon, Jill, and somewhere in there was Hyman. I don't know where because it's not in my original notes here. Nick, then Anthony, then Tully again, then I believe that was when Colleen did her B thing, then Jason, then Tom came back and all of us. So what do we think? Highlights? What's everyone's favorites? Best and worst? Whatever you want to talk about, it's open forum.
I think for me, one of my favorite moments was watching all of the jokes with Patrick Hackett. I didn't get some of them because I haven't been around forever, but Patrick was just like firing on all cylinders through his entire set. And even he was like on Slack, he was like, oh, I ran so long. I'm like, it was worth it. That whole set popped. I loved all of that. I liked Jill's set. It was like that perfect balance of like respectful and savage. You did really good with that, Jill. I didn't get to comment earlier. And then of course, Tom's clap back at everyone. All of those jokes were great. I loved that.
Oh yeah.
I think I was, for me, one of the things that just upset me the most, though, is I was waiting for someone to make jokes about Tom's Tokyo obsession. I thought someone was going to do it, and no one did. And I had, like, written all of these little jokes that I didn't get to. He did, like, a little, but I'd, like, written all these jokes that I was going to use in the chat as roasts for what Tom makes me do. And I only got to use, like, one of them. And it wasn't even a good one. But I was upset that Tom's Tokyo Obsession didn't get made fun of. If we ever do a roast again, I will be making sure that someone makes fun of Tom's Tokyo Obsession.
I wrote a joke for that, Spencer, but it didn't get used.
Say that again, Kevin. I spoke over you.
Oh, I was saying I wrote a joke for that, but it didn't get used, unfortunately. That would have been the opening that Spencer needed.
I loved your Tokyo joke, and I wanted to use it, and I'm such an idiot. And it's literally, so like you guys can see, this is
I've got it.
What I wrote during the roast. So this is old notes during the roast, because I have typed out other material. Like, this is what it was supposed to look like pre-roast. You know, like nice typed out. This is what went on during the roast. Oh, let me get the roast.
What is all the dollars? Oh, never mind.
Oh, well, this is when I had to read donation. Oh, wait, which one is it on? Yeah, so these were some of the super chats. So like that way, so I didn't have to like look down at a computer. I would have this sitting just off camera, like right here. Let's see if I can do it for here. Like it would be like right here. So I'd be like, big shout out to John, Jesse, Sam, da da da. So this is my notes, but also like jokes that I have to change or jokes that were written in. And I loved your joke, Kevin. And I was going to say I had it on one of these, and I just never got to it because I had to move it along. We also ran long, so I cut a lot of my stuff out. Was you talking about the Last Samurai joke?
Yeah. The joke was Tom desperately wants to be Japanese. A white man named Tom hasn't tried so hard to be Japanese since The Last Samurai.
Yeah, such a good joke.
That is a good joke.
I loved all Kevin's jokes. Kevin sent a bunch of jokes out when we first announced the roast, and then I went back and looked, and I should have totally used some of your jokes as a ghostwriter. I'm surprised other people didn't take your jokes, because you're like, here's some jokes for some other people, and your jokes were killer. They were so good.
I think by the time we got there, they got lost, because I don't remember. I'm sure I would have looked at them and tried to use them if I had realized they were there. The one thing I think is funny about this whole thing is like nobody really for a while knew who was running this thing. Like, so initially we like pitched the idea and Tom agrees with it, which stunned everyone. I think that was like the biggest shocker of all of this is Tom agreed to let it happen. And then like everybody was like, oh, I want to do it, or I want to do it. Or some people were like, I'm not comfortable with this. This isn't my cup of tea. I don't want to do it. And then it turned into Tom selected the roasters. So if you guys out there aren't aware, like I didn't volunteer. I was chosen a la the Claw. And so, you know, there were plenty of people I think that had jokes, but how we coordinated all of that was a little fuzzy. And then it was like Tom selecting the roasters, but Tom isn't actually contacting the roasters. And then is that Pete's job? Is Jason's job? Like it was kind of like in the beginning, Tom was trying to like assert control over what was happening. And then at the end, he was like, I'm not running this. I'm just showing up. You guys are in charge. It's Pete's job or whatever.
Yeah, the whole thing is that I don't even know half these people. I don't know how to contact them. I don't have their phone numbers. I don't have their emails. I know nothing. And he's like, Pete, did you reach out to so-and-so and so-and-so? And I'm like, no. And then that was like when it was like 2 days before. It was like Sunday. I'm just like, hey, like, what's going on with all these people? And he's like, oh, you didn't contact them? And I'm like, no. So it was a scramble.
You're supposed to know how to get in touch with Chris Lestraps. And meanwhile, I think Jason had contacted some of the old, like, former staff, but he wasn't, because Jason, I love him to death, but, like, communication is not his strong suit either. And so, like, he wasn't telling you who he had reached out to. So, like, the day of, Tom's like, well, Pete didn't contact 3 people. And I'm like, I'm sure that Jason or someone contacted everyone on the list. And like, it's not necessarily like if we didn't hear back from them, like there's nothing we can do about that.
I mean, when it came to our staff, I contacted everyone. Even in the sheet, like we had an ongoing joke sheet, like I listed everyone's name who was on it, but like I didn't know. And that's why, like, when it got towards the end and we were like a day or 2 away, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And even that morning, because even Jason was like, Justin might just pop in. I'm like, well, can someone tell me, like, should we put him in the credits? Should we not put him in the credits? Should I leave time for him? Should I not leave time for him? Is he going to know what?
I exported a video of the credits like 6 times, and eventually I was just like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go to bed at 8 p.m. Somebody just confirm with me the list like an hour before the show, and I will make the video and post it.
Yeah, you're like, I'm taking that. Send me the final list, and I'm like, okay, and then that's when I'm talking with Jason and Tom, and then I'm also texting Easy WDW Josh. And I'm just like, anyone, this and that? I'm like, all right, Tyler, that's the final list. I don't care. Like, if no one else is going to respond, this is what I'm going.
I don't care.
Oh, jeez. But I loved it. I actually, and I'll agree with what everyone else is saying. Like, I, too, was nervous. Like, I've actually participated in roasts, and I was like, this is not the kind of brand of comedy I think would excel here.
Right.
And it worked, and it worked really well. Even Tom, when we were talking on the car ride there to the studio, he's like, how brutal is everyone going to be? And I'm like, honestly, like, not that bad. Like, at first I thought everyone's going to be super soft, and then I thought people were going to go too hard when they first started writing, and I was like, oh, snap. And then I think it fell perfectly in that sweet spot. And even Tom was like, oh, like, maybe I'll have to take some of my stuff down. And then Tom gave me some of his material that he was going to clap back on people on and be like, am I being too harsh to these people? And I was like, no, that's perfect, I think. And then seeing the entire finished product, I was very impressed with everyone. It was,
I was so like that was part of what made me so nervous, was knowing at the end of this, Tom is going to clap back on you. And like, so I know Tom picks on a lot of people on staff. Like, I mean, you know, we all watch News Tonight and hear him picking on but like the audience hears him picking on people on News Tonight, where he'll pick on Colleen, he'll pick on Nick and Nathan and Jason, like verbally on the show. And then of course there's plenty of that behind the scenes too. But Tom doesn't really come at me very much like in daily life. So I didn't really know what he was going to do. Like I didn't know like what corner of the field Tom's jokes were going to come from, and like was it going to be something like how much was I going to run crying away from my computer when Tom was done? That's what I was worried about. But like his jokes about me, like and this is probably like 70% ego talking, but I thought his jokes about me, at least to me personally, were some of the funniest ones he told. Like, I know Tom did a really good job, but there were definitely some jokes in his clapbacks that I don't feel like landed very well. Which, like, you can say that about all of us. We all had jokes that didn't land very well. But his jokes about me, like, I cracked up the entire time. And, like, it was funny and it was true, but it wasn't so mean that I was like, oh, my God. Like, afterwards, I, like, just messaged him with a little heart because I was like, wow, that was, so much less bad than what I was expecting. And it was also hilarious.
Yeah, and
can I just say one joke before I forget? The one that I loved was, Jill is in charge of the wigs. Get your brother one. That was the funniest joke. I think that might have been one of the funniest jokes of the whole night, to be completely honest. Like, from a comedic writing standpoint, it was perfect. It was so short. It took me like a second, but it was so good. I was rewatching it again.
I don't think people got some of the jokes that were told by certain roasters, Tom, myself, and others included. Like, some I think went over a little bit. The audience said, like, they were thinking, like, even Ron had a joke about me, which I thought was brilliant, where he said something like, want to thank Pete, but his idea of a 12-step program is drinking around the world and then going to jelly rolls, which is genius because there's 11 countries around the world, and jelly rolls would be the 12th stop. So, like, if you don't know how many countries are in the World Showcase, like, it's perfect to drink in every country and make jelly rolls the literal 12th step. Like, some people wrote so smart, and I was very impressed.
Yeah, like there were a couple of jokes. Like the night before the roast, the game writers who write the games for News Tonight, and we also do some writing for like Who's Q, Is It Anyway, and some other stuff. We have calls on Monday nights, and so I was like, hey guys, do you mind kind of letting me, like, do you mind giving me a little feedback about my jokes for the roast? And they let me kind of do my set, like, to run through it for them, which was incredibly helpful to just sort of run through it in front of like an audience that hadn't had any exposure to it. Like, they hadn't read my jokes in advance, whatever. And so they helped me punch up some stuff. But there were a couple of things that they were like, wow, that's like a real thinker. And I'm like, oh, I didn't like, that wasn't my intention to write the jokes that way. But, you know, some of them definitely came out that way. But I think those are the ones that are going to be even funnier when you go back and listen to them later. But I do think, like, I said this to Jason a couple days before. I'm like, do you think there's an element to this, which we're really doing this, honestly, more for the benefit of the staff than we are doing it for the benefit of the audience? And he was like, there's probably a good element of that. But you know what? Does it matter? Like, people are going to tune in and people are going to watch. And just because they don't get every joke. And like, meanwhile, I think, you know, wigs and stuff who have been around, like those folks who have been around for years and remember, you know, if you've listened to the old Christmas podcast parades, you know who Chris Lestraps is, and you know who Justin Hayman is, and you certainly know Whiny Jacques. So for those people to come back, I think was like a really special treat for the WDWNT fans who have been around for years and remember all that stuff. Even if, you know, they're telling stories that not everybody remembers and not everybody gets.
Yeah,
and that was
laughter. Go ahead, Spencer.
No, it's okay.
I was just gonna say, I think like when you gather around for like a roast like that, you don't have to know everyone. Like, even if you watch like the Comedy Central roast, they'll have usually one or two up and coming comics that nobody's really heard of. And I was going to say, as long as you're funny, and as long as there's something like, you know, either a heartfelt moment and you're funny and it's relevant, no one cares. So like, I didn't know who Brandon and Chris were, but I love their stuff. They told stories, they engage me, and like I can identify with what they're saying based on what they're telling and knowing Tom through watching the show. So like, I love the old school guys coming in. It really felt. I mean, it's funny we didn't do it for a reason. It wasn't his birthday. It wasn't like a marathon show, although we raised a ton of money. So I think we're going to have to do a roast during the marathon show because we brought in so much money. And thanks again for everyone who put money in the super chat. But it really wasn't for any occasion. So we're going to have to find a good reason to roast somebody else. Or there's some other ideas we can throw around. I loved your idea, Jill, about personifying the parks. But we'll see what happens. I don't want to give too much away or when we're going to do it. But the roast seemed to be a huge success, and I can't say it enough. I was so impressed with everybody. I was so happy. I was having such a good time, and then I finally like let myself like loose like about a half an hour into the roast. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna drink some beers and have some fun, and that's when I just got ridiculous. But I was enjoying the show just as much as everyone else.
I was sitting there. I was helping moderate the chat. And the chat was just having so much fun with it. They were like, some of them were just snapping out jokes. We had like it was a lot. When they announced this, I thought that we were going to have like a lot of troublemakers like coming in from Twitter or wherever to like be rude or we had like one guy I think that I had to ban, and that's it. People were having fun. People were making jokes. It was if the roasters weren't on, then they were like interacting with the rest of the chat. Like I was talking with Jess in the chat in some parts, or like Tyler, I think you were in there too, weren't you? There was a bunch of different people who would just kind of drop. Yeah, because there was like people who were just dropping in and out of the chat. So I really think if you first of all, if you haven't seen the roast, please go watch the roast. Yes. And second of all, if you do watch the roast, turn on the live chat. Turn on the live chat replay. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. The live chat.
I have to watch the live chat because I didn't get to see it. But yeah, the live chat is good.
The live chat was a lot of fun. I think that having that on will really enhance it. But seeing all the things that people were popping out and like the staff who weren't on the show, like myself, telling stories and making their own jokes. The roast was a great time. I'm so glad we did that. And I hope we get to do something like that again, like for the marathon show or whatever.
Who gets the gold medal? Who do we think murdered? Can we award a gold medal?
I agree with Spencer. Patrick was my favorite. Like Patrick had me laughing more than anybody else.
Patrick wrote extremely well.
That may be a percentage thing because I think he also talked longer than anybody else.
You're right. He had a longer set, a bit of a longer set.
Yeah. But his joke about like heat is what happens when Red Bull and vodka become sentient. That was awesome.
He had a good one for me. He's like, yeah. And then he's like, Pete waxes his back for charity. Hey, Lauren, sorry you had to find out about Charity that way. Like, so he just wrote very intelligent.
I feel like I need to rewatch the whole thing again. Like, I only watched last night. I only rewatched like the last chunk that I missed, but like memorably, I have a top 3 in no particular order: was Jill, Colleen, and Fig. Like, the 3 of you were ruthless, and I loved it. But yeah, I feel like I need to rewatch it again. There was a lot of jokes that the previous folks who were on NT, like, I feel like I just didn't get them, and so they didn't really come across as that super funny to me. But like, because I know Colleen, Jill, and Fig, they were all just like, they were on point and perfect. I wish that I had gotten in on this just to hear what Tom would have roasted me about. But I feel like I'm too easy of a target.
Same. I would have loved to have been like on there just to see how Tom would clap back. But I'm too easy of a target because I'm easy to make fun of for being young. I never get things done on time, and I live in Japan. Like, there's so much material just in those 3 things alone that I'm curious in
Spencer,
a morbid way.
The top 3 I would pick for you.
I'm so curious just in a morbid way of how he would, well, that's what he makes fun of me for a lot. So like, I would be so curious in this weird, morbid, cosmic way to see how he would have roasted back at me.
It would have been like roasting himself. Did you say what? You're late to things and you're always in Tokyo Disney? That sounds like Tom would just be roasting himself.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think the ladies crushed it. It was so fun to watch Jess's journey through this roast. Jess had never seen a roast. So like when she first started writing jokes, I'm like, sweet Jesus, somebody help us. And then I was like, Jess, please watch a roast. Go watch one. Then it was like Sunday afternoon. And I'm like, did you watch one yet? And she's like, no. I'm like, please go watch a roast. Like, you don't understand. It'll help you write these jokes. Like, you have funny material, but it's just all wrong. You're just like telling story. Like, go watch a roast. And I think Tom even told her, like, you have to go watch a roast. And I think she watched the roast of Rob Lowe. And
Didn't she finally do that on like Tuesday afternoon? Like, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was like the night before or the day of.
Yeah.
And then also Tom, and I put some punch ups in there too. Like, Tom like sent her jokes about himself to help her. Like, he's like, you know, you can say this, this, and this. Like she did a great job, and she had tons of funny material. But like, even like Tom was like, you gotta word this better, or you have to say this better. And I think she finally got it. Once she saw the roast, it all came together, and she was able to come up with a real solid 5 minutes of laughs teasing Tom, because she deals with Tom, her and Colleen, on probably the most. I mean, on a daily basis. So Tom's constantly calling her and being like, "What's this?" Blah, blah. So yeah, she's a saint.
That sounds like him.
And Colleen, to Colleen's benefit, I think it worked out best that no one knew she was going to be on, including, well, because we didn't know she was going to be on either. But no one could prepare for her, including Tom, and that's why Tom was so upset. It was like the biggest burn of the night. He's like, I would have wrote so much stuff against Colleen. So it was like perfect that he had no idea and was just blindsided.
Yeah, the fact that we blindsided him with it was a burn in and of itself.
Yep.
I do want to know what he would have written about Colleen, though, honestly. I think that'd be really funny.
It's funny because when I was writing my roast, there was a part in my jokes where it was like, this is what a conversation with Tom is like. And as I was like rehearsing it, initially some of it had been a little bit longer, like Tom's responses. And I was trying to like figure out, like, do I do my impression of Tom, or do I just try to like make it come off? And every time I was trying to do my impression of Tom, it was sounding, I don't know if any of you have seen the new Harley Quinn cartoon from DC that just came out, but if you've seen any of the Bane character stuff, which is hilarious and you should totally watch, it's so good. But my Tom Corliss impression sounds like Bane from the new Harley, where it's like, oh, Colleen, rah, rah, rah. And like, I sounded like Bane from the Harley Quinn cartoons. And I was like, wait, what am I trying to say here that Tom sounds like Bane?
That's like all my impersonations end up being Jamaican, which wouldn't have worked because Tom would have sounded like Bob Marley.
What? Do an impression of me right now.
Do an impression that sounds like Tom.
Man, you know what I'm saying, man. Now listen, Lord of Mercy. Like, I don't know, it just goes really fast. It starts strong. It's a slippery slope.
Hey, I'm Pete. Like,
hey,
I'm Pete. Let's go to the jelly rolls.
Let's hang out down by the beach, boy.
This video of like a lady they were playing a game and they had to do a Jamaican accent, and she's like, how do you Pariande? And they're like, what?
That's why my favorite character to impersonate is Sebastian from The Little Mermaid, because he kind of sounds like that. So I can be like, life is better down where it's wetter, under the sea. Like, that's perfect. It works there, and I'm proud of that.
I'm still trying to figure out my Tom impression. I don't know. Like, the only thing I can figure out is like the very slight New York accent. Like, when he was here, I was trying to do when he was here last in January, I was trying to do his voice, and I was trying to do him as Bob Chapek, and I couldn't get it at all. And I was so upset because they sound so right in my head, and when they come out, it sounds like crap.
Yeah, that's the thing about doing impressions. During the prep for this, I had suggested to Fig to go watch there's the thing on RuPaul's Drag Race. They do a parody of Match Game, but they call it Snatch Game, wig snatching, not like anything else. And they have to play specifically they have to do impressions of people, but while also playing Match Game and just trying to be funny. And that's kind of like the same thing as the roast, is that you just got to have like a bunch of prepared material. I mean, they've done roasts on Drag Race as well, and it's like, I've seen how hard it is, and also to land a good joke. Like, I wonder if I had done it, if it would have been terrible. I feel like a lot of people didn't really land certain jokes though, anyways. So,
that's what made Colleen's all the more impressive to me. All of us were writing our jokes for at least a week beforehand. You know, where we all at least had a little. Well, maybe not Fig, but where we all had something on paper. And Colleen wrote her stuff literally during the roast practically. So she had almost no preparation time, and maybe it's to her credit, or maybe it's a factor of that she has to sit around with Tom all day every day, and so it just comes more easily to her. But yeah, she was really funny, especially considering she had so little time to prepare. I was practicing. I was doing it in front of the mirror because I was I want to make sure I don't at one point I recorded myself on video doing it, so I didn't think I looked completely stupid doing it, and that my delivery was okay.
Very smart. A lot of comics do that. They encourage you, especially if you're in stand-up comedy, but to record your set and watch yourself doing it into a mirror, then recording yourself, your pacing, where your eyes go, making sure jokes land and your timing. I'm very impressed there.
Thank you. One other thing I wanted to say about that, though, that was so hard about this is when you're at a roast and you have a live audience, or when you're doing stand-up, you have a live audience there and you are getting that immediate feedback of whether your joke is funny. But when we're doing it online like this, there's a delay. So initially what I struggled with the most when it was actually my turn to get up and start my jokes was I would tell a joke and I couldn't tell, you couldn't tell if it didn't land or if it was just you weren't going to get a laugh for another second and a half because of the delay.
Yeah.
And then so then I'd start in on my next joke, and then the laugh would come, and then I would do I pause? Do I start over because someone laughed? And then I was just no, I just need to pause a little bit and then keep plowing through, because if I let this mess up my flow, then it's going to sound even worse. But that was really hard to deal with, the whole idea that you weren't getting the laugh immediately. You weren't getting the laugh until you had already started telling your next joke.
Yeah, that's something we actually discussed ahead of time with me and Nick. Yeah, is that it was, do we want to have, because we had 12, 13 people, 3 in the studio and the rest were in the call. Do we want to have everyone unmuted so we can hear their laughs, or do we want to have everyone muted because the laughs will be on a delay? So someone will be starting their next joke, unless someone tells a joke oh, Tom, da 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 da, 1,000, 2, 1,000, then next joke, that's the only way you would hear the laughs. But if someone's plowing through and someone laughs, it's going to be ruining their joke. You won't hear the punchline or the setup. So I think we settled on, we unmuted just Nick because he has a big, loud, funny laugh, and Jason.
And everyone used to him laughing on a delay.
Yeah, exactly. So those two, and then us in the studio could laugh because it would be in real time, which is why, I tried to, get some bigger laughs out there. I kept my mic on the entire time so that way you could hear me laughing for everyone's benefit. But that's tough too, like you said, feedback-wise, especially when the majority of the audience, we had, hundreds of people watching live, and, thousands have seen it now. But there, you can't hear those laughs. You can't hear what joke was amazing and what joke fell flat. It's just going by comments of that was funny or LOL or ha ha ha.
Right, which again, you don't see until after the fact. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're not reading, exactly. You're not reading the chat.
The first time I distinctively heard, bless you. The first time I distinctively heard Tom laugh at one of my jokes, like that made the whole rest of the bit so much easier because I was like, all right, I at least got one laugh out of Tom. If I can have accomplished that, I've at least not completely failed here that I made Tom laugh at least once.
Yeah, and Tom crushed my confidence going in. Like, I'm a confident person all the time, but I want to make sure it was a good show. And
because that's what he does.
Yeah, and he just crushed my confidence so much, especially because he's like, I'm really excited for your stuff. And I was like, oh, no, don't be excited for my stuff. Like, that's pressure. But then, again, I'm reworking jokes, in the car and when we first get to the studio I'm rereading other people's stuff. And I'm like, oh, let me take this out because someone said a different version of this. And I would have, 3 maybe jokes. So I'd have, 2 or 3 good ones, 2 or 3 maybes, and then whatever else. And I read Tom, I'm like, which one of these 3 maybes should I use for the show for, Jess? And I read all 3, and he's like, those are all terrible. Don't use them. And I'm like, those are all terrible? And, this is 10 minutes before we go on the air. I'm like, what about these for that? And he's like, those are better. He's like, if these are all the kind of jokes you're going to tell tonight, you're going to completely bomb. Anyway, show starts in 5. And I'm like, what? Come on, Tom. First of all, then I'm yelling. I'm like, those were the maybe jokes. The good jokes are going to be good. I promise. And then I just ruined a lot of the jokes on my own because I was thinking about the next 4 things that were coming up instead of my material that I was just doing. But anyway, I had lots of fun.
That was part of it too. I think we all had it scripted out where it was literally a script. It wasn't just this joke is about whatever. It was here is exactly how the joke is worded, which you're never going to pull off live on camera for 5 minutes straight, without even, movie scripts don't work that way. You need a little room for ad lib. And so that was the more I went through and rehearsed it, the more I was like, okay, I just need to remember what the joke is about and certain little specific chunks of wording, but not I don't need to memorize word for word how I've written this entire joke.
And that's the way the best jokes work. Even stand-ups and most stand-ups when they go through the process of writing material is they might write it in paragraph form and then you get rid of all the junk and you take all that out and then you read it again and then you start putting it in just lines and then you get down to the point where it's kind of just setup and punchline and then you add in all the prepositions, adjectives, and verbs. It's just that one day with Tom and then your punchline. Tom's a jerk, whatever it is. So, I mean, you can tell who impressed. I think our most impressive roasters were those who you can tell either rehearsed or prepped or read it over to themselves a few times. Your stuff was really good because, like you said, you read it over a few times, you adjusted it, you tweaked it, and you practiced it, which came across. That's why you killed it. And I think Patrick and Ron stood out to me too because their writing was so intelligent, and then with the delivery was good too. And you could tell, and it's tough. Being funny while reading a paper is very difficult. So if you're sitting there and you're your concentration is away, you're not focused on it, and you lose some of the audience there too. So I don't know. Like I said, these are little things, and I think I was so impressed with everyone. I mean, that's all I can keep saying is that I thought the show was so good. Everyone did such a good job. The material was funny. I didn't think we went too far. This could have been a complete disaster. We were everyone's going to be fired. Tom loved it. Which, I mean, if we can get Tom to say he loved something, you get one of those a year. It was Reflections of Forever was last year. Stage 89 was before that. And then this roast he really liked. If you ask him anything else he's liked since then, I doubt it's anything. I don't know. Maybe a Gio's a dog.
And
that's about it.
Honestly, that's the secret of WDWNT is that like all we're trying to do is impress Tom all the time.
Yeah, we just want him to be like, just give us like an occasional like, it wasn't bad.
Good job.
I'll take it. That wasn't bad. Yeah. Oh man.
For me, I had joke ideas. The thing is, I'm not a comedy writer. I know how to take something like on the spot, and usually like 75% of the time I can make it land. But when I was trying to actually write stuff to give to other people, I was like, I don't know how to turn this into a joke. And so like I'm sitting there with all this stuff, like how Tom makes me keep food wrappers and like keep them perfectly flat, and you can't fold them at all, and you have to like wipe them out with napkin. Like I had so much stuff that I could make fun of him for, and I didn't know how to like actually turn it into a joke and send it in for someone to use. And so like I'm sitting there even during the roast, I'm like, how do I use this and put it in the chat? Because then maybe Tyler will read it or something. So I was really impressed.
I used one.
You used one. There was one that I did. That wasn't even one that I came up with. That was just like, oh yeah, furlough joke. That one was easy. None of my Tokyo joke. I made one Tokyo joke, and it wasn't even really a joke. It was just me saying the idea because Fig was in there talking about getting woken up at 5 o'clock in the morning to write something. And I'm like, yes, Tom calls me at 5 in the morning. He's like, Spencer, go get in line at 5 in the morning and get me this merchandise item. I'm like, okay. I knew that's the thing. I knew I had something. I didn't know how to write it. So I was really impressed with Jill and with Patrick and with everybody who was able to like take all these things and actually make them like punchy and funny. And I was very impressed. It was wonderful.
It's hard.
You have the material. Wording it is just something that just I think comes with time, or like Jill, when by rehearsing it, when you actually say it out loud, you're like, wait, let me rewrite that, or let me just move here, because you realize how the joke sits, and you want to usually and with the punchline, you can tell some of the people that wrote it, like even with Nick stuff, and he won't mind me saying this, like he had very funny material, but a few things I said, just swap this and this. Like, because you don't want to step on. I wish I had a good example. I don't have it in front of me. But like, I was like, you want to end with the joke. He had like jokes in mid sentence, and then would finish, or add context that you didn't need. Like he would tell longer versions, and I was like, no one cares about all this, but just say this part, and people will die laughing. Especially coming from you, Nick. And I think Nick did another person did a great job. It's so funny because like I don't think Nick has a mean bone in his body, and like a lot of his own roast was making fun of himself while making fun of everyone else. So it was nice to see him. He did a good job. I should say, all right, so I have Courtney, who's in the chat today, did send me these jokes. I don't know which ones I used and which ones I didn't, but here's her 4 jokes, which I liked all of these. Tom's girlfriend is Canadian. Tom knew he'd be compatible with a Canadian in bed because they're so agreeable, and he's used to hearing a lot of apologies, which I thought was fantastic. Tom really loved the Great Movie Ride. No one knows this, but his favorite scene was the Oz scene. He loved it so much because it's the only time anyone ever called him pretty, which is great.
I think
Tom
we did use that.
I did use that, yeah. Tom has mixed feelings about Galaxy's Edge. It's understandable because it's so alien. It's about as alien as seeing an apology from Tom on Diz Twitter, which is funny too. And I think I use this one, but everyone says Tom's grumpy or mean, but Tom's a really nice guy. Just next to the homeless guy giving $1 buzz cuts on OBT, which I think I used a version of that. So those are great. Love those jokes.
I was sad that Easy Josh didn't show up because one of my favorite jokes that I had in my set was about Easy Josh. And
oh my God, I really wanted him to do it. I was texting him. I'll read you the text for that too. You get behind the scenes stuff here, Party with Pete. Everyone, not everyone, but like 90% of the roasters had a line about Josh. So like it really would have been nice if he was there.
Oh.
But maybe that's why he's smart for not doing it. What did he say when I asked him?
Maybe that's another reason to do something like this again, is to get Josh on it.
He would do it. Goes, here's what I shot to him. I was like, hey, everyone seems to be back and forth. Are you doing this roast or not tonight? And he just wrote back, not to my knowledge. And then he wrote, are you going to do the roast? And I wrote, yeah, I'm hosting it. I said, I'm trying to get this thing organized. Do you want to? I said, you still can if you want to. But I said, you probably have to write some jokes pretty quickly and be ready for tonight. And he wrote back, I don't think I could do it. I would need more time, and I don't think Tom wants me to do it because I know way too much about Tom. He goes, plus, I'm already drinking heavily, which would make for entertaining circumstances most of the time, but not for tonight. It's probably not what he's looking for if I'm on tonight. And I said, okay. And then he actually was really sweet the next day. And this is coming from Josh. Josh, if you've seen the shows, is pretty much a quiet person, but like when he speaks, it's very funny. He sits back, just wrote me a text the next day, like, it was good, surprisingly. And I was like, wow, that's high praise coming from Josh. Yeah, I don't know. I loved it. I'm glad we did it. Go ahead.
Just one thing, like, I noticed I wasn't sure. There was obviously a lot of making fun of Tom's girlfriend, but there was also a lot of people who were talking about Scarlett. And I was really surprised, honestly, that that was something that Tom was okay with. Just because I know that, like, sometimes a lot of people with situations like that, it's like a really touchy thing. I wasn't sure, like, even Tom, I wasn't sure he'd be okay with that.
I think it had to be just because she had been pretty heavily involved in WDWNT when they were together. Like, she was on some of the podcast parades, most of the staff knew her, had met her. I think, like, Patrick was in part, like, how they even got together. So I think because she had played such a huge role, like, his current girlfriend isn't nearly so involved, and she comes to some events and stuff, but she's not really involved in working on the website. You know, she chimes in now and then, but she's not really on staff per se. Whereas, like, I think with Scarlett, it had been a lot more integrated into the WDWNT world.
Yeah, and no, I wasn't around when Scarlett was around. I came around. Yeah, I mean, I just came aboard last year, and it was right after I came aboard that I met Tom's girlfriend. And, I don't know. I was watching the roast, and I'm like, is he really okay with this? Okay.
Yeah, he when I asked him about that, I said there's a lot of Scarlett stuff, and then his current girlfriend as well, and he said, I prefer... if, you know, especially with his current girlfriend, he goes, there's so much material about me, like, I don't want them to go after her, which makes complete sense, and I agree with that, and that's like a big roast deal, is to make the jokes about that person. Mm-hmm. You can tie in the other person, because you're not taking down a person that can't defend themselves, basically. And since she wasn't there to defend herself, you don't want to take that person down. And also, Tom just said for her to respect her privacy. So that's why we always said Tom's girlfriend, instead of using her name or Twitter handle or anything like that, is to respect her privacy.
And I think that's what it was. Like, people who made jokes both about Scarlett and about his current girlfriend were using them as a vehicle to poke fun at Tom. Like, it wasn't, the joke was never really mocking the girl. The joke was mocking Tom, and just using that. Like, I had used a bit about Colleen in my set, and, like, I reached out to Colleen and I was like, just so you know, you're in my set. Like, I'm not making fun of you, and I'm not, like, using any Colleen told me blah, blah, blah. I'm just using you as, like, a vehicle. And I said, if you want to see it, you can see it, but I just want you to know, like, you're getting brought up, because at the time we didn't know Colleen was going to be on to be able to, like, I wasn't going to make fun of her or even, like, use her as that kind of, like, comedic vehicle if she wasn't okay with it.
Yeah, I shot messages to people if I thought I was taking a shot at them that was questionable, and and a few jokes I didn't even use, but a few, and a lot of time people were like, yeah, I don't care. And a lot of my jokes about people were really just jokes more about Tom. Like, even for your intro, Jill, I think I used Jill's head of HR, which means she's the one that has to come up with the reason, why are you firing this person? And Tom's like, just because, which is really an insult to Tom, not an insult to you at all. So, like, again, like, that's the road. I took that road. But
I think I feel like I was one of the more harsh people up there about other people on staff. Like my jokes were, Jessica's not funny. Or
that's why certain people weren't on the roast too. Is that Tom did say, like, here's the list of people doing it, and then there was, like, this other weird, like, second call where he's like, oh, well, this person can do it. And people were like, no, I don't want to be on, like, there were people who on staff who didn't want to be on it, because if you agree to be on the roast, that means you also get roasted by everyone on the dais. Like, you're giving people permission to come after you. So it's not for everybody. You got to have some skin and just hope no one knows where the bodies are buried.
Right. Exactly.
I think that's one thing about being on a roast, though. There's like a difference between when you volunteer for being on a roast and when it's just like a day-to-day thing where you're getting made fun of. Because when you're on a roast, no matter whether you're the roaster or especially the roastee, you're expecting to get made fun of by other people. Because almost everyone had jokes about the other roasters. I think that at that point, it's not even just about having thick skin. I guess it's just about the fact that you know that you're going to get made fun of.
The other thing is
on Drag Race.
That is a roast.
You don't know what they're going to joke about. So that's the only scary part is you're basically telling everybody open season and you're putting your trust and faith in the person will reach out if it's super offensive to X first. But some people, and I know personally in other roasts I've gone to, don't do that and they'll just come up and say it. And sometimes it'll be like an audible like, oh, in the room, like where people are like, he should not have went there. But again, that's why I think it went so well is that everyone was cool. There was communication, at least between the roasters, no communication asking people if they want to do it. But it was like a really good time. We are running out of time. So final thoughts, we'll go around the horn here one more time. Final thoughts on the roast or anything else you want to talk about for today? Go.
Okay. It was a ton of fun. I'm really glad I did it. It was terrifying. And literally like all day Tuesday, all I did was sit around and be nervous. Like I have a day job, which I'm clearly doing right now. Like the whole time I'm like, I could be sending this email or I could be rehearsing my script again and punching up my jokes and just sitting in Slack and making one-liner comments to other people in the roast channel because I can't focus on anything else but thinking about how this roast is going to go and how, God, I hope I'm not the least funny person. It's like Dancing with the Stars kind of thing. Like you just don't want to be the first person voted off. Like I did not need to be the funniest person on the roast by a long stretch. I just didn't want to be the least funny person on the roast.
We're like literally like there's just dead air. No one is laughing. It's just nothing. And you're like, well, see you later.
Right. Like let me just power through this 5 awkward minutes.
You crushed it. And I really think you were one of the best for sure. Final thoughts, Tyler? Spencer?
I just think that like there were people who were surprisingly funny. I think that's the thing about the News Today, like News Today Live that's happening right now, is that it's given so many people who have maybe been behind the scenes for a long time to be able to come out and be like, hey, I want to try doing a show, or I want to maybe try being on this roast. And people come out with so many great ideas, and that like a lot of talented people have shows and they've been able to do them. And it's just like, there's so much talent that you don't know about until people get a chance to do it. And I think that it's been fantastic. It's unfortunate that the parks are closed, but we've just had this surge in creativity within WDWNT that like, it's really, really good to see. And I wish there were more companies that did that kind of stuff, because I know a lot of people who work for a lot of places that are super funny or really talented and don't really get to show it, or maybe they choose not to. But anyways, that's it. I just think everyone was really, really great, and I agree with that. I have no complaints. It was a great night.
I had a lot of fun with the roast. It was 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock in the morning when that started for me, so I was like about to eat lunch and watching the roast. I thought it was fantastic. Everyone had jokes that hit. Of course, there were, like big highlights. Like I loved Colleen's set. I loved Jill's set. I loved Patrick's set. And that's not to say that everyone else was bad by any means. Everyone was hilarious. I think that it was one of the best things that when we look back on WDWNT Live, because obviously we're going to remember when the parks were closed. This is something that we've never done before, and hopefully we'll never have to do it again. But when we look back on WDWNT Live, I think one of the big highlights will be the roast. I think that it was fantastic. I think it was executed well, back end and on the front. Yeah. Congratulations to all of you guys.
I agree. I think this was a great idea. I'm happy Tom agreed to it. I was super happy that they asked me and let me host. I had a ton of fun doing that. And yeah, like I said, I've said it 19 times. Just as we've all said, impressed with our staff. Everyone stepped up to the plate. Everybody was hilarious. It was well produced. The segments up front and the credits by Tyler, everything came together in a fantastic, magical way. And when that happens, I think the audience can feel that. And it was a really great show. With that being said, we are a little bit in overtime here. Just a quick housekeeping. If you haven't yet, I don't know what you're waiting for, but we got the WIGS, the WDWNT Inner Globe Society. Go sign up to be a WIGS member at WDWNT.com/Patreon, right? Or Patreon/WDWNT?
It's patreon.com/.
You probably could just Google WDWNT Patreon and you would get there somehow. But anyway, so go check that out. You can find out about all of our exclusive content right there. They explain everything. And we've talked about it a few times today and probably about 700 times over the last 3 weeks on the live show. So you know what the WIGs are all about. Go do it if you haven't done it.
Can I throw out quick, Pete, that yesterday after the roast, we posted a really fun outtakes video from Tom recording News Today that our editors from the guy who edits the News Today videos threw together, and it's fantastic. There's been some really good response in Patreon from the WIGs. So one more, if you like the roast and you want to keep laughing at Tom a little bit, sign up for WIGs and go check out that outtakes video that we posted yesterday. It's hilarious.
There you go. Also, we gave you the schedule for the upcoming week, but usually we have a show every day at around 11 and a show every night. So make sure you're checking out. You can find that schedule on our website as well. Coming up next week on Party with Pete, the return of Piano Rob. It is Hollywood Studios Appreciation Week. We're going to be having a ton of fun talking about that. And also Piano Rob is back. And also, I'm not sure if it's this week or next week, but a lot of people in the chat today, thanks for the love on the Puma shirt. I got this on TeePublic because I know 3 people asked, so there you go. And maybe we'll just do a Disney T-shirt collection talk. That's a great Disney Sea Grand opening shirt too. I noticed that. I've noticed the Epcot Center 35. Jill, come on. Where's your fun Disney shirt?
I have one next to me that I pulled out last night for Park Center, which is my from when Expedition Everest opened. So I'm not wearing it, but it's right sleeves. So, yeah.
Jill.
It was like the first Raglan shirt I ever found at Walt Disney World. It was amazing.
Spencer,
so Jill, actually,
you're about to show.
So Jill, I was talking to Jason. I bought this shirt. And it came with 2 for some reason, and Jason said it was in your size. So if you want this cool Disneyland 35th anniversary shirt, I have a second one that I'm holding for you and Jason for whenever you guys come to Tokyo.
That would be
so
awesome.
There's a Disney shirt for you, right? There's your Disney shirt right there.
Yeah, thank you. We were supposed to be there last week. Jason and I were supposed to be in Tokyo last week.
I know,
but now
telling us before.
Yeah, it's looking like I want to say like late October, early November. God willing, I think we'll be over in the fall. So that would be awesome. Thank you, Spencer.
Cool. Well, that's it. Well, that's Party with Pete for this Thursday. Make sure you watch all of our shows. I'm back next Thursday at 11 a.m. I love you guys. Thanks for watching so much. And farewell. Sivako. Wash your damn hands. Peace.